prediction. The problem is there is similar to AMD. If you're not coming in way above,
and we are
that
live,
just
baby.
speaks to how high expectations.
Because you know
are
Stetson in the house,
market right
but
now,
I gotta
how
save
we're
y'all.
getting ahead of
Because
ourselves.
I'm negotiating
Against this backdrop,
this
you have,
Valentine's Day
this
concert. They
concern
stalling
about
on your
disruption
boy,
that is
but I
going
gotta
to
become a
result
superstar.
from these
Look,
AI
look.
products like the kinds that are being
So,
produced by
join
Anthropic.
me
If you are really concerned
in my
about disruption,
officinas
if you're really concerned about
as I
AI
attempt to
impact,
shave before my
it's
nephew
really kind of
comes to the
putting a
barbershop
cell
and
mark
uses
on a lot of different
the
things in
outliner
technology
that I
right
need.
now.
Tom Giles, our
Gotta
tech
do my hair
executive
after
editor.
this.
Thank you so much for that update on the latest tech earnings, which
And
are
y'all
really
gonna
not
learn
helping market
something
sentiment,
today.
right?
Ow.
Tech is continuing to fall out of favor with Wall Street. Investors now turning to value stocks. Let's bring in Bloomberg and Life Strategist Brendan Fagan. Brendan, we are seeing this rotation continue, but some people are saying that this could perhaps be healthy. We're seeing more signs of broadening out.
You're definitely seeing that in today's tape. You definitely saw value outperform. The interesting thing to say about today's trade is that you didn't see the participation from small caps, which is a little bit worrying. But it seems no matter where you look, there's sort of something for everyone, glass half full, glass half empty. If you're bearish, you kind of look at the overall market structure, obviously highlighting concentration risk. But from a technical perspective, the damage the NASDAQ 100 is doing below the 100-day, you're starting to think about those November lows in terms of a technical level as to where we can trade, which wouldn't be great. But if you're an optimist, you are looking at the broadening of participation, albeit without small caps today, like I mentioned, and the pickup in U.S. data. Looking at the U.S. Economic Surprise Index, it's showing that there's underlying momentum. So that explains why value in small caps have done well in recent weeks, but there's plenty to ponder here in U.S. markets.
So what are we expecting in terms of continued declines as momentum unwinds and the impact on tech stocks?
Well, at a certain point, it seems like it's become self-reinforcing. It seems like at the moment, AI is sort of moving AI.
Stetson, you know it.
Software names are bringing in AI, and that's going to hollow out their businesses. But
We go
at the end of
hard.
the day,
You
even
heard
Jensen
me?
Huang pushed
This
back
how
on it
hard
today,
we go.
saying
We
that
go hard
it's
like
ludicrous.
this.
So I think that
You
could
hear
be
me?
sort of a turning
Go
point
hard
when you
like
sit there and
this,
you
baby.
force companies and people to reassess just how much they're willing to shed risk in this
Join
environment.
right.
Is it sort of transformative, or is it something broader than that where it revolutionizes businesses? I think that's sort of the middle ground that we're in right now, and the market's figuring out where it goes from there.
Brian.
You know, talking about the optimists and the bulls, some are calling this a good entry point because U.S. stocks are now about 5% cheaper than in some metrics versus a few months ago. But when it comes to the broader earnings outlook right now, how are we doing as we head towards it?
Yo, you gotta make sure to laugh every day. Alright? Every day you gotta laugh. At least one time.
I think we've had bright spots here and you've had mood spots there. I go back to getting off on an iffy footing with the banks and the financials a few weeks ago. That was sort of seen as the bellwether group, laying down a marker for how the rest of the earnings season is going to go. And sort of, it's been some winners here, some winners, and some losers there. And I think that's been the tail of the earnings season. Overall, it's generally pretty constructive. There's nothing too much to worry about. Looking at Google's numbers today, the massive CapEx guide is reasonably optimistic, even in a down tape. So there's plenty to go off of if you're looking to make an optimistic case about the earnings picture.
Is there still any optimism left when it comes to cryptocurrency? I mean, it's hard to keep the faith among the crypto loyals when you see them breaking through Bitcoin through these technical levels.
Yeah, I think this is the bigger problem with the tape that is sort of leaving out speculative excess, whether we want to pinpoint it on the nomination of Kevin Warsh and how that may play into a potentially smaller balance sheet and the tighter financial conditions that may come from that. That may be where people might go to cite the reason for Bitcoin being under pressure, but it's obviously a telling signal for the risk environment right now that, you know, the higher beta, frothier areas of the markets are getting crushed, whether that is crypto, in Bitcoin, trading down to 70,000 So it's definitely cause for consideration.
It makes sense that the pickup in the U.S. dollar to say cable is perhaps playing out despite the fact that you mentioned
That's in the house, you know it. How about the Gators? And you know my Patriots is going to the Super Bowl. Because my Patriots is going to the Super Bowl.
obviously goes back to the Fed's
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I think the overarching theme here is that the appointment of
Give
Kevin
me the
Warsh, while we
beat.
don't know necessarily who we're getting, whether it's the old Kevin Warsh or a more moderate Kevin Warsh that we've seen in months past, it's this removal of tail risks and this dollar risk premium that was sort of embedded in the price, and that's coming out offering the dollar some footing.
Brendan, we're going to leave it there for today, but thank you for running us through all these nuances on the market, Bloomberg and Life Strategist, Brendan Fagan for us. Now, in terms of geopolitics, we're also tracking some of these developments. The president of the USA, he's had
Please
a
have a
long,
seat
thorough,
right here.
and excellent phone call with
I'll
China's
put this
Xi
battle
Jinping
armor
discussing
right so we
trade,
can take care of you,
geopolitical
okay?
/
Make yourself at home. You can rest your jacket right there. This is just, you're not teach engineering here, so.
So, Mehmet, how
Welcome
did
to
both
my
sides
classroom.
portray that phone call?
Rule number one is we can only use everything God's given us, so we're gonna stay true to that.
This is the game changers. Slide your breaths.
Please have a seat. Welcome to the shop. Good morning. Good morning. Very nice to have you. Give me 1 for 7 when
The
they put
U.S.
the battle
power grid
armor in.
faces the challenge of meeting rising demand at a magnitude it hasn't been seen for decades. Within the next few years, U.S. data centers could consume electricity that's comparable to millions of homes.
Our answer is advanced nuclear fuel. Our production capability can provide enough power for over 16 million Americans.
The U.S. electricity sector, it seems to be at an inflection point. It's important to have solutions
I
that
want
are
to get my beard
scalable
trimmed and my neck shaved and my cheek up here where I haven't shaved for a while.
Okay.
Yeah,
Now,
there's
the only
a
thing
slight
is I don't have
difference
the hot
in
towel
their
shave.
tones.
I
If
don't
you
have
look at
the
President
towel
Trump's
or the
True
blades.
Social
I cannot
post, it
use them
seems
until I
very
restore the
exuberant.
seat,
He said that
but I
everything
can
is
go over
quote, all
everything with
very
the machine. Is that
positive.
okay?
He
That's
said
fine.
that
That's
the
fine.
relationship
Yeah.
with China
Do
and
you like the
his
volume
possible
that comes off
relationship
the
with
skin? You want to
presidency
turn it down a
are
little bit?
both
I
very,
want
very
it trimmed
good.
down some, but I
But
still
the
want it
Chinese
kind of full.
readout
Kind of
is
full.
a
I
Yeah.
little
might
bit more
use a
serious in
combination
tone,
of
and
the
it talks
scissors
about
and the machines
how
here and there.
China
And I'll
always
clean it up
aligns
just on
its
the
words
outside.
with
What about on
actions,
your hair?
and
You
that
want
is
me to
perhaps
even it out on
a
the top?
signal that they want the
Yeah,
U.S.
why
to do
not?
the
Yeah, you
same.
want to go over
President Trump
maybe like
outlined
number
a
two,
list
two
of
and a half?
issues that he spoke
Two,
with
I think, is
President
what
Xi
they
on,
usually
including
use.
geopolitical
Okay,
issues
perfect.
like
All right, no worries. I'm
Ukraine,
gonna move
Iran,
this real quick. Maybe
Taiwan,
please rest your
also
shade.
trade issues,
Yeah, let me.
talking about
If you need
China's
them, we'll sell them on
decision to
eBay.
buy
Okay.
I won't leave them. I can't go anywhere without them.
Wait till you see mine. You know I'm a laser engineer, right? So
the list of issues that
my eyes are
President
like
spoke about,
machines, you
except
know,
for
like
Taiwan.
computers.
It
Hold on.
explicitly stated that Taiwan is the single most important issue in U.S.-China
Okay, make
relations,
sure.
and warned the U.S. that it needs to act prudently when it comes to any arms sales to Taiwan, and that China will never allow Taiwan to be separated from it. So it's interesting in terms of the focus of the agenda here from the Chinese readout.
So
But
proud to
overall, the
be
tone
an
seems to be
American.
positive, and it
All right,
seems
so
to be
we'll
laying the
do a
groundwork
number
for
2 all
that
over the
summit
crown.
that will take
Nice and
place
even.
in
We'll outline
Beijing in
everything natural
April,
square
according
cut.
to President
We'll
Trump.
clean
He
up on the
reiterated
outside
that
of your
he
beard
is
and
going
then
to
we'll
travel to
finish with
Beijing,
the scissors,
and that he's
okay?
very much looking
As
forward
you
to it.
know,
Even
I'm
though
going to
the
have the
Chinese readout
music
didn't
full
mention
blast. If you need me, raise your hand. I can hear
President
you,
Xi
but very
Jinping
low.
also,
Okay?
though, speaking with
I'm gonna
President
travel
Putin
to the
just
future.
hours before
I'll be
that
right
call
back.
with President Trump. How did that
Welcome
conversation
to
go?
the shop.
Yeah, it's interesting because this
It's
call,
unbelievable.
it was
Everything
a
in
virtual
my life
meeting,
is
video call that
100%
lasted 1.5
technology. Everything.
hours. And it's interesting because if you look at People's Daily, which is a Communist Party mouthpiece, you would notice that the coverage
Give me
of the
1 quick
Xi
second.
and Putin call took up a lot more space than the coverage of the Xi-Trump call, which tells you that the relationship with Putin is still very important to China. And according to TASS, the Russian state media, both sides talked about everything from Iran to Venezuela to Cuba. China talked about the need to jointly stabilize this geopolitical environment, and it seems like both sides still presenting this united front that China will continue opening up its economy and present development opportunities to Russia. But I think it's interesting because the timing of this call is coming at a critical juncture. Number one is coming as President Trump and the U.S. is hosting dozens of officials from allied countries from Europe and Africa to talk about boosting collaboration in critical
Good news from
minerals to counter
overseas.
China. And
As you
number
know,
two,
I'm an artist,
is
and
coming
I'm
when the
negotiating
US
an
is
event
laying an
for
attack on Iran as
Valentine's.
threatened terrorists
The
on countries that
promoters,
trade with Iran.
management are going
And
back
China
and just
is
back
a
and forth,
major
and I'm
trading
like,
partner.
you
So
guys handle it.
both Russia
I'm
and
just
China
gonna
have
direct the
this
lawyers to you guys.
common
Get everything
goal to
signed,
stabilize
and that's it.
Iran
We
and
can
the
do
Middle
one
East.
event, or
See
we can
Iran
do
as an
100.
important
It's no
linchpin, and
problem.
so no wonder
But once I'm booked, the
China and
prices
Russia
go up.
continue
So
to remain very close.
I
As
told
you
them
can see,
nicely, like, okay, Valentine's Day, who doesn't want an artist that's gonna give you 25 of my greatest hits, all love
And
songs?
coming up on the Asian trade,
I'm trying
our
to tell you.
exclusive
I'm gonna start
conversations
new
with the Malaysian
generations. After
economy
that
minister
concert,
and
many
Maybank
babies will
CEO.
come, I promise.
Plus, UBS Wealth Management explains
All right,
where
let me
they're
go to the
seeing
future.
investing
I'll be right back.
opportunities in Asia. Much more ahead. This is
If I
Bloomberg.
rotate you, there's a mirror right here in front of you. There's the big mirror here, and you'll be able to hear the sound bar. It's surround sound. This entire shop is a studio for multimedia, video, television, all that. And the sound bar is under here, okay? Welcome to the shop.
We're seeing a little bit of downside on oil prices early in the Asian session after we saw a jump in the New York session. We've been dealing with conflicting reports on the status of the nuclear talks between the U.S. and Iran. There are still questions whether Washington will proceed with military strikes. Of course, we're watching whether those could actually disrupt shipping lanes. Iran's oil production, roughly 3.3 billion barrels per day, could be under threat. President Trump telling Tom Yamas of NBC News that Iran's leader should be very worried. This coming as U.S. military forces amass in the region with diplomatic talks between Washington and Tehran set for later this week.
I would say he should be very, very good. He should be. As you know, when negotiating with China, they're often protesters have said, you know, we're the Americans. You promised them we have their back. Do we still have their back? We've had their back. And, that country's a mess right now because of us. We went in, we wiped out their nuclear. So that's the question. If you want your peace in the Middle East, if I didn't take out their nuclear, think of it. If we didn't take out that nuclear, we wouldn't have peace in the Middle East because the Arab countries could have never done that. They were very, very afraid of Iran. We're not afraid of Iran anymore.
Let's bring in Bloomberg Digital Politics editor Romy Varghese. Romy, so where are we in these talks between Iran and the U.S.?
So far, our sources have confirmed that as of now, the U.S. is meeting Iran in Oman on Friday. Of course, even the talks about the talks are running into disagreement. Iran wants these talks to be just about its nuclear program. They want these talks to be limited. But we have the Secretary of State for the United States, Marco Rubio, saying, well, you know, for these talks to be meaningful, we need to talk about other things like the ballistic missile program, Iran's sponsorship of militant groups in the area, and its brutal crackdown on its own people. So, you know, this doesn't exactly bode well for the talks that we are having disagreements about the parameters of the talks right now.
Not to mention, Romy, how Iran has previously resisted these talks with the U.S. So you do wonder, even if they do engage, how durable all this is going to be. Talk to us about what has changed.
Well, yes, I mean, we saw talks between Iran and Washington collapse last year after Israel launched airstrikes against Iran. But, you know, Iran is in a very particular moment now. I mean, we've seen hundreds, thousands of protesters. I mean, we've seen thousands killed. But, you know, our analysts are saying this is the biggest moment for Iran since 1979. We could be, you know, on the cusp of significant change here. So yes, the regime is in a pretty vulnerable state right now, and of course, we had Trump, you know, threatening airstrikes on Iran. So, and we've you know, seen action in the Middle East. So, you know, Iran is in a pretty tough position right now, and it's compared to where it was last year. It is definitely more receptive to these talks. Whether these talks accomplish anything, we will have to see.
Romy, thank you. Bloomberg Digital Politics editor Romy Varghese with the latest there. We have more ahead on the Asia trade. This is Bloomberg. Here are some top global headlines we're following. The U.S. President says he would not have nominated Kevin Walsh to lead the U.S. Federal Reserve if Walsh had expressed a desire to raise interest rates. Trump told NBC News that Walsh wants to lower borrowing costs, regardless of his own view. The comments could come up during Walsh's confirmation process, where the Fed's independence is likely to be a central topic.
Let's get to the Fed. Is there any doubt in your mind that interest rates are going to be lowered? Not much. Why? How can you say that? Just think of it. Is your Fed pick on board with that? We're way high. We're way high in interest. We have now, we think, and with all the money, I don't think we're good at money. And with all the money coming into our country, we're a rich country again. We have debt, but we also have growth. And the growth will soon make the debt look very small.
President Trump also told NBC he's learned that a softer touch may be needed in the federal immigration crackdown in Minneapolis. He says he's ordered the Department of Homeland Security to immediately pull about 700 agents from the city. About 2,000 will remain, which is far above normal levels. Tensions have been high since ICE agents shot and killed 2 U.S. citizens. The Trump administration has hosted a major summit on critical minerals, bringing together 55 countries to cut reliance on China and secure stable supplies. Vice President J.D. Vance called for predictable investment conditions and a coordinated agreement on price floors. The topic has been discussed among industry players as a way to protect non-Chinese companies from China.
Yeah, President Trump also announced a $12 billion deal to create a strategic critical minerals and rare earth reserve. So we'll be watching some of those miners in the Australian session. But take a look at how precious metals are trading right now. We're seeing a little bit of a rebound for gold and silver prices, but only after gold dipped below that $5,000 level. There's a lack of fresh catalysts in this space. We saw, of course, the historic plunge late last week, and gold volatility is still at the highest level since the 2008 financial crisis. Silver volatility perhaps since the 1980s as well. Still, the likes of UBS Wealth are thinking that gold remains an attractive asset and a strong hedge, and expects it to reach 6,200 for the first 3 quarters of the year. And coming up, our exclusive conversation with the CEO of Australia's largest pension fund, Australian Super. This is Bloomberg. Take a look at how Australian assets are trading early in the Asia session. The Aussie dollar has been pretty flat, but this after reaching, of course, 3-year highs on those tightening expectations from the RBA, and after the RBA already moved this week. And you can see the ASX 100 under a little bit of pressure, 0.2% in the last trading session. But we're seeing a little bit of a rebound on some of those precious metals. So we'll be watching those miners in focus as we get Australia underway. And also Australia's largest pension fund, now Australian Super, hunting private equity deals in Asia to grow its portfolio. Speaking exclusively to Bloomberg, Chief Executive Paul Schroeder also discussing their tech allocation amid a sell-off in the sector.
Exposed to tech, and we're invested heavily there. Of course, it's going to be a really important part of the future, but nobody quite knows what its form is going to be. I like to remind people that railways started in 1825 and the iPhone arrived in 2007, and ChatGPT went to the public in November 2022. So we're still early days, just starting to mature. We're seeing a bit of extra capex at the moment. We're watching valuations. We're thinking about future earnings. But, is AI the big story? Of course. Is it going to be disruptive to software? Almost certainly. Is it going to be disruptive in other ways? Of course. But nobody quite knows just how.
Yeah, so how do you separate these AI-driven gains from the real thing or just hype? Do you have any concerns that when you look at this AI trade, does any of it look like a bubble, like shades of the dot-com bubble?
Oh, well, I think the fundamental thing to know about Australian super is that we're an active investor, and the world is swimming in passive cash and passive capital, and our people spend a great deal of time looking for value and where we're going to generate free cash flow in the future. So, we're not just following the index here. We're very thoroughly, carefully thinking about who are the likely winners, who are the likely ones to create long-term value, but most importantly, who's got the capex right, who's going to have the earnings right, and who's going to have a sustainable business model in the future in the context of a globally diversified portfolio. And of course, that's so important to investors and to the members of the fund that they've got exposure in various markets, various sectors, and across all asset classes.
Okay, so in terms of being active and globally diversified, are you redeploying money to Asia from the US or elsewhere?
We're very strong on the US. It's been the source of the greatest earnings and wealth over the years. I'll just give you one example. If you had $100 and you invested in European markets in 1920, it's worth $19,200 today. If you had the same $100 and invested in the US markets in 1920, it's worth $104,600 today, 5 times. So so many of the great companies are in the US. So much of the earnings is in the US. So we're strong in the US, but we're coming from behind. About 35% of the portfolio is exposed to the US. So we're strong in the US. We're investing in the US. We've got a great office there in New York to help us invest well for members. But it's also true that we are diversifying and thinking about Asia, especially through the PE lens, because Asia is going to represent 42% of GDP in not too long.
Now, you did mention PE there, and that is attracting some significant interest at the moment. Can you tell us a little bit more about your strategy for private equity investing?
Private equity represents to us, obviously, the greatest opportunity for reward, but also risk. And it's also an expensive way to invest. So we're thinking very deeply about PE. Our global head of PE is based in New York. Our future is one of more PE, probably about 4% of the portfolio is PE at the moment. We'll probably get to 10. The fund's going to triple over that time, so you can exceed the size of the exposure growing. And where we are at the moment is just at the beginning of a plan to expand our PE exposures in Asia and across Asia, and as I say, across various countries. So PE is going to be very important to us. It's a very important part of building Australian super members' retirement balances. I imagine we can double our exposure in a fund that's tripling. It's a co-underwrite, co-invest, deep.
There's a reason the Karate Master was the #1 salesman in the lumber department. Just like there's a reason Morgan & Morgan is America's largest injury law firm. Morgan & Morgan, forthepeople.com.
Are you thinking about epoxy for your garage door? Consider Sharp Coatings instead. Sharp Coatings are 4 times stronger than epoxy, 100% antibacterial, and last a lifetime. Over 50% of our jobs begin by removing failed coating. It's costly and time-consuming to redo your floors every couple of years. Don't pay twice, get it done right the first time. Everyone is choosing Sharp Coatings because of our unbeatable prices and 5-star service. It's cheaper to do it right the first time.
Indulge in the premium perks of Lincoln Black Label ownership at Central Florida Lincoln. Craft your ideal ambience with curated thematic interiors, world-class materials, and exclusive design elements. With benefits like 4 years of premium maintenance, exclusive offers, and vehicle pickup and delivery for service, Lincoln Black Label provides an unmatched ownership experience. Inspired by elements of luxury travel and modern architecture, Lincoln Black Label sets the standard for excellence. Discover true luxury at Central Florida Lincoln.
Partners, high quality GP strategy that we're implementing, and it's one that we're now thinking about expanding into Asia.
So if you're going to expand this into Asia, which particular markets would you be looking at? And how do you navigate around some of the transparency risks when it comes to private markets?
It's very important that we do this prudently and thoughtfully. We've had some really good experience. We've got an office in Beijing, which helps us a great deal. We've had some really great experience in India. We're energized about where Japan is at the moment and the opportunities that exist there. So I don't want to foreshadow exactly what we'll be doing and where, but I think it's more likely that those opportunities will exist in those strong, more developed nation economies where we've already got existing connections and relationships.
Australian Super Chief Executive Paul Schroeder speaking to Bloomberg's Paul Allen. And you can explore live streaming news and interviews, as well as all Bloomberg TV shows, documentaries, reporter analysis, and more in one place. Check it out at bloomberg.com/videos. Now on to the latest from the corporate front. Bloomberg has learned that SpaceX held meetings last month with banks from outside the US as a target to listing this year. Sources say one group was made up of European banks, while another included firms from other regions. We're told that Wall Street giants Bank of America, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, and Morgan Stanley are already lined up to lead the listing. Sources say Boeing is cutting about 300 supply chain jobs from its defense division, notifying affected workers this week. Now we're told the company is otherwise still in hiring mode with more than 1,300 job openings. It's also looking to help affected workers find other positions in the company. Boeing's headcount at the end of last year stood at 182,000. BYD sales in Germany surged more than tenfold in January as the Chinese automaker continues to expand in Europe's biggest EV market. It sold more than 2,600 new cars there last month. That's more than twice as many as Tesla in the same period. BYD first passed its US rival in Germany and the UK last year. Now coming up, we begin our exclusive coverage from the Malaysia Economic Forum here in Kuala Lumpur, speaking with Economy Minister Akmal Nasir. That conversation is next. This is Bloomberg. The Malaysia Economic Forum begins today, and it brings together economic policymakers and business leaders to set the nation's socio-economic agenda. Joining us exclusively is Malaysian Economy Minister Akmal Nasrullah Mohamad Nasir. Minister, it's great to have you with us. So, talking about the economic backdrop for Malaysia first, I mean, you saw that advanced estimates, it looks like you guys could handily beat the 2025 growth projections. Are you going to see more of the same for 2026? And might that cause an upward revision in the growth projection?
Well, thank you, Abed. I will begin by saying the economy Madani and through the Team Malaysia plan have proven to be effective for us to face through these geopolitical challenges and whatnot. So that's why when we look from the performance of 2025, it shows that we remain resilient, competitive at the global segment, but at the same time, definitely moving towards 2026. As what we mentioned in our 13 Malaysia plan, it's going to be about digital economy. It's going to be the focus on AI, and definitely we are looking towards all these higher value or the value creation based economy for us to maneuver all these challenges ahead.
Yeah, so with all these measures underway, the growth projection for this year, I think, was 4 to 4.5%. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Is there any room for revising it upwards then, given how you're seeing the tailwinds evolve for the
Well, because I mean, we have to look into more overall overview. Definitely in terms of domestic economy, we believe we have that strength. But at the same time, we cannot rule out these ongoing geopolitical challenges. So that's why I think it's not for me to revise easily the numbers, but definitely showing 4 to 4.5% shows how confident we are to continue to tell to the world that Malaysian economy is still open. We are actually going to be competitive, and definitely in 2026, as a Minister of Economy, I want to see we one more time to beat our own prediction on economic growth.
On those geopolitical concerns that you raised, how worried are you that chip tariffs could escalate, and is the Malaysian government ready to provide support in that event for the semiconductor industry?
Like when we first, in terms of how we continually engagement and negotiation with the US, we managed to bring down the reciprocal tariff from 35% to 19%. So in that sense, definitely it's within our interest to provide the most conducive and productive environment for our suppliers. And it also shows our certainty to continue engage with the US, China, and whatnot. But definitely, when we talk about semiconductor, Malaysia is number 6 in the world. But our strength more towards the back end about the packaging, about the testing. But that's why moving ahead for us to remain competitive, we need to move from the back end to the front end. So that's why I think in terms of the chip design, this is what we are actually trying to uplift towards the value creation economy. Because if not, if we remain complacent with what we have today, things are getting tougher and getting more challenging. So that's why for me, it's not just to talking about what will happen in the next few months, but also moving up the value chain so that we are going to be resilient for the next 2-3 years.
On that, moving up the value chain for chips, how would you rate the progress? What more needs to be done, you think?
Well, last year we made some breakthrough. I think in terms of the agreement with ARM Limited, for example. Definitely this year is the year of execution. For me, even we have managed to secure understanding with ARM for them to train 10,000 of our talents. It's no longer about quantity, but it's also about the quality. So in order for us to ensure the value, the way for us to move higher value chain, we have to ensure our talents will meet the requirements by the industry. And doing that definitely is a dynamic thing. You are talking about technology. The breakthrough will happen from time to time. So we need to actually on par with the progress of technology changes.
So along with all this, would you say that the government's focus in terms of the workforce preparation would be about upskilling and accelerating those initiatives?
Yeah, definitely. Because when we talk about the needs to meet the industry needs, Malaysia is known for having good talents, educated talents. But as we said about technology, things changes on like continuously. So that's why for the Malaysian approach, definitely in terms of the masses, we do have the technical training program. But at the same time, for the higher end or the niche segment, that's why we need to even make a breakthrough having the talent training program direct with the industry at the world stage, at the world standard, so that Malaysia is ready to take more opportunities in terms of semiconductor and the chip design.
And that's a work in progress. I wonder if I could get your thoughts also on when it comes to these chip exports. Is there a concern that perhaps the front loading effect that some say was helping to support these shipments, does that wane? And what extent do you think the strength of the ringgit could curtail this as well?
Definitely when ringgit gets stronger, for us it's good. It also shows confidence about our economy. But despite the ringgit strengthen, we can see the exports last year actually went up. So definitely, what we are providing is no longer about cost competitiveness, but also the values. So that's why I think Malaysia has to actually really look into how can we move up the value chain, because to remain competitive, especially in this context, is no longer about being cost effective, but how do we actually can penetrate the market and provide the niche and the values so that we will be part of the global supply chain.
Data centers, they've been booming in Malaysia, but this is also coming at a time when the power grid does look quite strained. Do you see that as a headwind?
Well, in terms of the energy, I came from Petra in the last month in my last responsibility. looking at how do we manage the utilities, definitely our role in terms of energy is to ensure we remain focused, committed to our trilemma about providing the affordability, sustainability, and the security of the energy supply. So far, in the past 20, 30 years, Malaysia has shown a strong commitment. And now we are moving towards energy transition. Definitely, that will also attract more investment to come in. And we are also liberating the process. Now you can actually go through the third-party access to actually allowing the data center to procure energy directly with our developer, the RE developer. So that's why I think it's like an opportunity not to be missed. Definitely, we have to continue to uphold to our standards, making sure energy remain affordable and remain secure. But at the same time, data center coming in terms of the effect of having another utility, data center will become our next utility.
Speaking of incoming investments, we're also looking at the opportunities in the special economic zone in Johor, right? What do you see in terms of investor interest now? Is it exceeding your expectations, perhaps?
It is exceeding everyone's expectation. I mean, according to the
some numbers that you can provide?
Up till quarter 3, 2025, we have got approved investment up to 68 billion ringgit. I mean, when we plan in the early stage, we thought about 100 billion throughout the entire process for our 10 years target. But now, I mean, within a year, we already locked in terms of approved investment 68 billion. But definitely, I mean, I have spoken to my counterpart from Singapore. We need to move from planning stage to the execution stage. How much of this approved investment can be realized this year, for example? So definitely, more works need to be done. We are going to roll out our blueprint and master plan by end of March because we need to streamline. We need to actually make things really in operation.
We'll wait to hear what the blueprint tells us about the long-term vision, the investment opportunities for the zone as well. Minister, great to chat. Thank you so much for your time today. And that was Akmal Nasrullah Mohammed Nasir, Malaysian Economy Minister. Much more to come today here at the Malaysia Economic Forum. In the next hour, we speak exclusively with Maybank CEO Khairul Sadeh Ramli, and later conversations with Malaysia's second Finance Minister, the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, and the Bursa Malaysia CEO. This is Bloomberg.
The U.S. power grid faces the challenge of meeting rising demand at a magnitude that hasn't been seen for decades. Within the next few years, U.S. data centers can consume electricity that's comparable to millions of homes.
Our answer is advanced nuclear fuel. Our production capability can provide enough power for over 16 million Americans.
The U.S. electricity sector seems to be at an inflection point. It's important to have solutions that are scalable and clean.
This side grew in a little bit longer. This side is pretty much perfect. Just so you know. So that means the hair growth starts on that side. I can't do anything about that. That's how it came from the factory. Right? You gotta ask Grandpa. Grandpa, did you always sleep on that side? Because all my hair grows from that side. Okay, once again, be careful. We're gonna be using the scissors, okay? Yep. Scissors.
When you fly Emirates, your holiday isn't over until your flight is over.
We're watching Japanese markets ahead of Sunday's lower house election, especially given that today we do have a 30-year JGB sale. Let's bring in our chief Asia FX and race correspondent, Ruth Carson. Ruth, I mean, we had a 10-year JGB sale earlier this week as well. Demand was pretty tepid, but can we just say that after the JGB meltdown that we saw a couple of weeks back, nerves have sort of calmed down?
Well, for now, I think the key words are for now. Yes, all eyes are still though on any bond sale, particularly when it comes to ultra long debt. We know that yields spiked 26, 27 basis points. That fateful Tuesday, a couple of weeks ago, and how that spilled over to treasuries, to bonds, to gilts. And so when you have another sale, such as a 30-year paper coming up in Japan, all eyes are on it. Things are calm at the moment, but again, we've got the snap election coming up this weekend. We still have questions around the BOJ's timing when it comes to raising interest rates. So all this will still be on traders' mind going into the bond sale.
Ruth, how are investors positioning on the yen at the moment? The yen there still the big voice in trading at the moment?
Yeah, it's important to remember that of all the assets that Japan has on offer to the world, the yen is the most liquid and the fastest to react to any sort of news out there. So investors are certainly jittery. I've been speaking to portfolio managers, traders, strategists the whole week, and everyone has a message, which is the yen is cheap. Like, there's no two ways about it. It looks cheap, but it takes a very brave investor to go in and buy right now. I mean, since, the headlines around that rate check Friday, about a week and a bit ago, we clearly see yen between 155 to 156, but it's creeping up. Dollar yen is creeping up. So there is still that pressure there that is not going away for all the reasons that we have BOJ policy.
Welcome back to yourself, sir.
Risks, and,
when you came to the shop, you looked like one of your cousins. We didn't know who it was.
Yeah, Japanese leaders coming out with all these mixed messages on whether or not they want to really not helping. On the other side of the trade, what's happening with the dollar then?
Yeah, absolutely. And we have to remember that the dollar is on close to 90% of all foreign exchange transactions in the world daily. And at the moment, debasement fears, debasement worries are still plaguing the dollar. There's questions as well about, the Fed's policy path. The nomination of Kevin Walsh, news of that for the Federal Reserve Chairman role, clearly boosted the dollar. But who knows? Who knows what's going to happen next? Because the dollar is very much also in the crosshairs when it comes to any flare up of geopolitical risks that stem from the US
that's better for sure.
And there is definitely that underlying trade.
Aerodynamic and streamlined. It'll send you on guys.
Definitely want to see how things play out from here.
All right, once again, thank you for giving us the opportunity to be your barbershop.
Thank you so much.
Once again, thank you for giving me the opportunity to be your barber anytime you need us. 7 days a week, sometimes 8, okay? If the lights are on, we're working. If the lights are off and you hear me rehearsing music, then you know we're close. I'm clean. Y'all set to go? Whatever you normally pay is fine. All I'm going to do is hide it from my girlfriend, okay? If she sees it, it is gone.
Your girlfriend, huh?
Yeah, if she sees it, it's gone. Automatically. Won't even give me a chance. She'll say, how much is coming? Okay, she'll start shopping online, right? Thank you so much. You have a blessed day. We see you 4 to 6 weeks, okay? If it goes back faster, we'll come back faster,
I'll
okay?
be going back to Illinois in 6 weeks. So
I'm going to jump in the luggage with y'all. Don't worry.
I'll see you next winter.
All right, thank you. God bless. See you next time.
We could see much deeper losses in the Kospi. This is
Bloomberg.
This is Asia Trade. We're counting down to Asia's major market opens after another day of tech losses on Wall Street. Is that narrative of rotation out of tech into perhaps more value plays, especially at a time when there are concerns about AI spending, April, not to mention, of course, the memory chip shortage also hitting these tech giants?
Absolutely, and then we saw that record high capex coming through from Alphabet. The debate continues about how this is going to figure into their plans for the future and the benefits from spending so much in this space.
Yeah, so we had already seen those software makers get hit in the last session. Tech stocks getting hit in the last session here in Japan, and we had a session of losses for the Nikkei. But we're still seeing a very weak Japanese yen against the US dollar. The worst performer among G10 currencies, very close to that 157
and
level.
we can open up the dealership.
160 level, which is on watch, of course, given that it's seen as levels where authorities could potentially intervene in the markets. You're seeing the topics gaining ground 0.3%, as we have seen that rotation into value plays, cyclical sectors in the Japanese market as well. And with strong earnings coming from MUFG, together with the likes of Sumitomo Mitsui, Mizuho Financial in this earnings season, we'll be watching banks very closely. We do have a 30-year JGB sale today, so do keep an eye on that, given that we're headed towards the election this weekend. Fiscal concerns will also be felt across markets. Take a look at how Korea is also coming online, because we had another record high for the Kospi, but the Korean won still under pressure, and bond yields also rising in the Korean market because of these government expansionary fiscal policy concerns. And you can see some of those tech names like SK Hynix, Samsung Electronics continuing to lose ground. All of this to do with what I mentioned earlier, what happened overnight on Wall Street. We had U.S. stocks under pressure given the tech sell-off ongoing. Alphabet sinking after spending forecasts exceeded expectations. Qualcomm also having a tepid revenue forecast, not helping. ARM's forecast also disappointing. NVIDIA CEO, though, saying that the software sell-off is the most illogical thing in the world. But, of course, we are still continuing to see the jitters, especially in the crude space as well. We're seeing a little bit of downside, but there have been conflicting reports about the process or the progress when it comes to U.S.-Iran talks. Let's discuss all of this and bring in Hartman Issel, head of APAC Equities and Credit at UBS Wealth Management. Hartman, really a lot to digest, but the narrative right now seems to be a continuation of that tech rotation out of those stocks and into perhaps more value, more small sectors, more cyclicals. Can this be seen as a positive sign of more broadening out of the market, or is this a fundamental problem?
I think it is a sign of a broadening market. And we also have to bear in mind, especially if you look at Mag 7, for example, right? Over almost 3 years, right? They were the key component of earnings growth in the S&P. They still are one of the components, but not the only one anymore this year, right? So it's probably not so surprising that we see other sectors, maybe I mentioned AC in particular, also in the US context, right, that are also coming up. And right, many investors also see, hey, where else can I diversify things a bit? So not in a healthy environment, in my view.
Yeah, especially at a time when we saw the sell-off in software stocks, when they're actually generating solid earnings. In this side of the world, in Asia, are there any concerns around the fact that AI could cannibalize some of these companies that are in play as well?
On the Asia side, actually, right, as long as there's demand for AI, it doesn't matter from whom or if the market shares shift or anything like the market seems to believe to some extent in software. Right? In the stock markets here in APAC, we don't have that kind of phenomenon or not that kind of structure and setup. And therefore, right, and we have seen also, like you mentioned Alphabet, but we have seen it before, also Microsoft, etc. In terms of what I look at, right, is cloud growth year on year. It's very, very strong, and if it disappoints to some extent, then it's only because the capacity isn't there, right? The demand it's not a demand issue, right? So that I think also here for the Asian semiconductor space in particular, right? As long as that goes, I don't see so many issues there.
Are you also seeing how emerging markets are sort of breaking away from these US market moves?
Yes, indeed, we are seeing it. By the way, not only in APAC, but also in APAC, I should say. And yes, I will say, especially if we stay here quickly in our region, right, there's different drivers. I think quite interesting, right? So AI is also one of them, also for APAC, I just mentioned. But then you have value ups, right? So markets that, in terms of structure, don't really that close to AI, but they are going up, like a Japan, like a Singapore. And then we have markets that also look interesting. Again, a different driver, which I call sort of the laggards of last year, where actually your earnings growth is accelerating. 2 examples, India, Indonesia. So different drivers, but could be better.
Talk to us also about what you see in credit that is related to the AI boom, because there also seem to be some lingering concerns about the payoff in that part of investment space. Is that something that you're also seeing?
Yeah, we have looked at it, especially also on the non-listed side. Right? The conclusion that we came up with is probably where you have more flex potentially is more like the low quality areas, which at least as far as our investors go, right? We have several times told them and recommended, right? So you can go in that space, you should be in that space, but more on the high quality side. Is that as long as that's the place where you position, that should be okay.
You mentioned Japan earlier, and of course, we have seen an amazing rally given some of the structural changes in this market. We are headed towards the election this weekend, and that's really raising more fiscal concerns about this country. Is there anything that you're watching in particular this weekend that could make a meaningful difference towards the direction of the equities here in Japan?
Yeah, I think generally for the market, given we probably know what the outcome or the most likely outcome is, right? We need to watch certainly, right, that also the government, right, they do the stimulation, they do positive structural measures, but not overdo it necessarily on the debt side, right? As long as that's the case, I think it's okay, because that, in my view, is sort of something short term that could help the market. But if I look back a bit, right, these return on equity measures in Japan, they have started to increase. I think that is the key reason also why many also foreigners go back, right? These value up measures, they're beginning to work. We see it in the data, and it will not stop here. So yeah, Japan is interesting.
Navigate risk with confidence. Realize bold ambitions. Unlock transformative growth. At Marsh, we believe perspective powers progress. We put our more than 150 years of expertise to work for you, helping shape your future with clarity, momentum, and resilience.
What about Chinese tech, which hasn't exactly been immune to the rout in the sector that we've been seeing this week?
Yeah, on Chinese tech, and of course, in about say a month's time, or half a month, I'd say, we will see more data, also results. The ones that I would most critically look at is a little bit like in the US with hyperscalers, right? Is the year-on-year cloud growth, right? So, and we have seen, but if I compare to 12, 18 months ago, we have seen a significant increase of some of the leaders, right? We're talking in some cases now about 30% give and take, or even 30+% year-on-year cloud growth. That has only come in recently, and nobody has to hide between US hyperscalers anymore, right? It's virtually on par. And I think we're going to see also from here several quarters of this repeating. So I would struggle to see why the market wouldn't sort of buy into this idea.
Armin Isol, Head of APAC Equities and Credit at UBS Wealth Management. Good to have you with us. And these are some of the tech names that we're watching in Asia. Those memory makers in Korea and Japan in focus. Of course, we've had major earnings reports out of the US that we mentioned. Also, chip makers Qualcomm are both disappointing investors with their respective forecasts, and that is really adding to the broader negative sentiment on chips. But on the other side of that equation is also Alphabet. It caught investors off guard by announcing bigger than expected AI spending. The promise of a capex boom sparking a rally across Alphabet's supply chain, which includes chip names Broadcom, SanDisk, and NVIDIA, rising in late trading, among others. Let's get more with Bloomberg Intelligence Global Head of Technology Research, Mandeep Singh. Mandeep, really market trying to digest what came out of Alphabet, especially that spending forecast when it comes to artificial intelligence. What were your key takeaways, and what will investors be very much focused on?
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about a doubling of the capex from Alphabet for 2026. So I don't think consensus was anywhere close to that. And that's partly to do with the fact that the cloud business was particularly strong. And I think the company sees an acceleration from here to probably over 50% growth in 2026. So yes, the margins may come down because cloud margins, even though they have improved, are around 30% as opposed to core search margins, which are closer to 50%. So I think from that standpoint, higher depreciation costs tied to this capex investment may drag down margins a little bit, but we are clearly on kind of looking for acceleration in top line growth for Alphabet. And I think from that perspective, search is holding pretty strong, and cloud will see a pretty strong acceleration going forward.
What will this mean for Alphabet suppliers? We're seeing some of that infrastructure rally, so to speak, coming through.
Yeah, I mean, if a company like Alphabet is saying they are confident about the scale of the AI infrastructure build out, and they see, clearly the supply constraints that everyone else has pointed to so far. So that just means, we are continuing to see, component shortages across the board, whether it's memory or some other components, and that may continue to be the case at least through second half of this year.
And those memory component shortages we've seen in the results of Qualcomm, what were some of the key takeaways that also perhaps give you an indication of what we can expect from Amazon this week?
Yeah, look, in the case of Amazon, I would compare the cloud growth for AWS. So the fact that consensus is around low 20% when Alphabet cloud segment growth was around 48%, that divergence, and when you compare that to Microsoft, which reported 38% Azure growth, I mean, clearly Alphabet seems to be taking share. So what Amazon needs to show is, one, they're keeping up in terms of that AI contribution, and also they don't want to slip too far behind when it comes to their cloud growth here.
Bloomberg Intelligence Global Head of Technology Research Mandeep Singh, as we continue to watch those tech names across Asia. Now, we do have breaking news out of one Chinese name, Baidu. They've actually come out with authorizing up to $5 billion of a repurchase program. Now, this will be effective through December 2028, according to a Hong Kong exchange filing. The board approving the adoption of a dividend policy for its ordinary shares for the first time, and these could include regular and special distributions of dividends. They expect to declare the first payment of dividend this year. And now some of that justification coming from what they call substantial cash reserves and sound financial management capabilities, which is why the board has authorized a new share repurchase program of up to $5 billion. We have more ahead on the Asia trade. This is Bloomberg.
You gotta pull it really hard sometimes.
Take a look at how some of these stocks across Japan are trading at the moment, with SoftBank falling almost 5% right there. ARM's forecasts have disappointed, despite the fact that they really exceeded most estimates, but they failed to meet the loftiest expectations of investors. Fourth quarter revenue will be about $1.47 billion. So you can see SoftBank is controlling shareholder there, falling at the moment.
Y'all want to behind the scenes look? Well, dig this.
I gotta do my also losing ground.
I kept me messing with y'all. Oh man, but I forgot.
Giants, recently coming from the U.S. with that tech sell-off on the Wall Street session. Alphabet sinking after their spending forecast exceeded expectations.
Take this granules out.
Some commentary about memory chips and how the supply shortages are hurting some of these companies. Qualcomm, for example, giving out a tepid revenue forecast as well, April.
Yeah, let's talk about this as well in the context of Malaysia, because of course the AI sector is a big one here, and the Malaysian Economic Forum is underway in Kuala Lumpur. Our next guest runs the country's largest bank. Maybank recently announced a new 5-year plan targeting a return on equity of 13 to 14% by 2030. Joining us exclusively is Kairos Ali Ramli, President and Group CEO at Maybank. Always good to see you.
Thanks for having me, Avril.
Thank you for being here. So it was a relatively good year, but talk to us first about the underpinnings of all of that in terms of what you see in the Malaysian economy this year and how that's driving.
You put on this battle armor real quick.
I think this one
I look like a Taliban soldier myself. So I'm going to hide this madness. But I promise you, by the end of the day, I'm going to have my hair done. I promise. Can't be in the public looking like a ninja. Let's put on the battle armor real quick.
Clarity in terms of execution. We have seen, of course, results, right? In terms of.
Would you like to rest your jacket there so we don't have any hairs on us? Because if you wash it, it'll make holes on it. Okay? Let me hang it.
And of course, the results speak for itself so far. So we've got economic growth of about.
We have these parts of natural services at your service. If you leave it, we'll sell it on eBay, okay?
The fiscal deficit is going to shrink further to 3.8%. Living wage has increased in living wage has allowed people to have more income in their pocket, right? So this is again the result of, I think, a very much curated policy with outcome and continuation under the Malaysia Economic Plan 13. And that's why we are being a strategic partner, principal partner for this foreign economic forum in Malaysia.
What would you like on the top? Maybe like a number 2 or 3?
Various ministries to communicate.
I don't want to go much shorter, but I do kind of want to even it out.
I think like a 2.5 or a 3 should do. And then, how would you like to begin your blend? Would you like to start with the 0.5 or the number 1?
This year
with the half and mid-levels, okay, not too high, not too low. Like you don't want it military high and tight, but you don't want it like a low fade like the young guys. Something in the middle is okay. So we'll do a half blend, maybe like a 3.5 for the top. If it's still not enough, maybe like a 2.5.
Maybe based on that, we'll see how the momentum is for us. We are forecasting 4.5%.
As you know, I'm gonna have the music full blast. If you need me, raise your hand. Okay? I can hear you, but very low. All right. I'm gonna travel to the future. I'll be right back. Okay. I leave you with my business partners here at Bloomberg. I teach engineering, so I eat the markets for breakfast every day, every single day. And Milo is my sidekick, but he's on timeout. He's in
the last 1 year or so.
Milo got in trouble, so that's my role there.
Investment. We're also seeing a pickup in corporate exercises as well, and so
wait a minute.
But of course, the mainstay has always been on the consumer side and the SME side, right? And the focus on domestic demand, for example, by the government, that will enable banks to continue to support that bread and butter mortgage, higher purchase.
If I have to rotate you, there's a mirror in front of you and the main mirror to your left. You'll hear it better because the sound bar is under the television. This entire barbershop is a studio. You know, we live stream, we do video, editing, music, I hear everything. So, everything is technology.
Inflation remains
let me see with the 3.5 so I can measure the length
see
of
the
your
external
hair.
factors, for example, even in the US, it is still not sure where it's heading. Potentially there will be some weakness still in the currency in the first half, but given the still constant inflation, that might not be the case in the second half.
Okay, and what about where you see the Fed's trajectory overall for the year? I mean,
well, our house call is that there is still room to cut another 50 basis points in the first half. But again, we don't know. There's new Fed chairman coming in, and he may have different ideas in the economic situation in the US. But at least for what we see now, we're looking at first half kind of about 50 basis points.
Overall, for the business, you see funding costs easing?
We did see a lot of pressure and need to go on deposit competition. And it's increasing the prices for us, but not as severe last year. So I think liquidity is ample, and not just from customers, but also from the markets as well. So I think funding is available, liquidity is ample for us to support growth.
Okay. Growth also in the region. I mean, how are you seeing Southeast Asia grow, regional businesses? How do you compare against the competition?
Yeah, I think again for Maybank, we still call the three countries our home markets: Malaysia, Singapore, and Indonesia. Apart from Malaysia, we are quite bullish on Singapore, and Singapore now already contributes close to a quarter of our asset and income. And within that, it's wealth management and even the corridor. We think that being, biggest bank in Malaysia and got a significant presence in Singapore, this Malaysia, Johor, and Singapore corridor is something that we can even further strengthen our presence in.
On wealth management in Singapore and competition in such a key market for you, I mean, there are very established players there. So how exactly are you competing with them?
We look at our own DNA perhaps and not really competing at the top level of high net worth clients. And we look at our DNA, it's basically the entrepreneurs who then can become our wealth customers as well or vice versa.
Looking for tool storage that's both affordable and built to last? Choose the trusted durability of U.S. General from Harbor Freight with a full selection of colors, customization options, parts, trays, and more. U.S. General, only at Harbor Freight.
So, everywhere trying to play on our strengths and not really competing with the big boys in Singapore. So in Singapore now, our wealth fee income is already more than half of our total fee income. And it's growing quite nicely. So it's not just Singapore per se, but it's also Singapore is a hub, bringing in wealth from this region as well as from the Gulf countries and even Greater China.
Okay. You talked about some of the importance of the Singapore market. Of course, the special economic zone, that one is a key thing to watch up and coming. What are you seeing in terms of investor interest there?
It's strong. And again, for Maybank, we have started this promotion of Johor Singapore economic zone maybe from 2 years ago, not only recently. And we spoke to investors, etc. And for us alone, we actually brought in around 15 billion ringgit worth of investment so far into Johor, right? And of course, the big one will be the data center, but there are other areas like logistics, healthcare, manufacturing. Now, that is on the institutional side. But we think the Johor Singapore corridor even has got a retail component as well, and a wealth component, because we have individuals coming through Johor, we have individuals working in Singapore, etc. So how can then Maybank provide that holistic ecosystem, not just on the corporate side, but also in the individual side?
Okay, we'll have to leave it there for today. It's going to be very interesting seeing how this all shapes up. Great to chat as always. Harris Rami is President and Group CEO at Maybank. And our coverage of the Malaysian Economic Forum continues here in KL. Still ahead, our exclusive conversations with the AIIB, Malaysia's second finance minister, and the Bursa Malaysia CEO. This is Bloomberg.
You can actually explore live streaming news and interviews, as well as all Bloomberg TV shows, documentaries, report analysis, and more in one place. Check it out at bloomberg.com/videos. We do have an alert on the Bloomberg as well. President Trump speaking, saying that President Xi Jinping will come to the White House toward the end of the year. Of course, we have seen President Trump and President Xi Jinping talk over the phone on Wednesday, discussing trade and geopolitical flashpoints, including Taiwan. President Trump saying that he hasn't necessarily committed to a tariff rebate check system, but he's considering it very seriously. President Trump also talking about the independence of the Fed, saying that the Federal Reserve is, quote, in theory, an independent body, and the Chair Powell was respectful in explaining renovations, and this referring to the Justice Department investigating the Fed over testimony by Chair Powell when it comes to a building renovation project. So we'll get you more as we have the latest coming from President Trump, we have more ahead on the Asian trade. This is Bloomberg. And then we're watching one stock moving in the Japanese section. Do keep an eye on Panasonic gaining more than 14% after they reported third quarter earnings. It's interesting because they actually cut their operating income guidance for the full year, and this guidance missed the average analyst estimate. Operating income coming in at 290 billion yen. More ahead. This is Bloomberg. We're getting Australia's trade surplus coming in at 3.3 billion Aussie dollars. This is actually widening from the previous month when it fell to 2.9 billion Aussie dollars. We'll continue to watch the numbers as we're getting the exports growth of 1%, which is in the green after a contraction of almost 3% in the previous month. For the month of December as well, we're seeing month-on-month imports though contracting 0.8% for a trade surplus of more than 3 billion Aussie dollars. Australia's largest pension fund, Australian Super, is hunting private equity deals in Asia to grow its portfolio. Speaking exclusively to Bloomberg, Chief Executive Paul Schroeder also discussed their tech allocation amid a sell-off in the sector.
We're heavily exposed to tech and we're invested heavily there. Of course, it's going to be a really important part of the future, but nobody quite knows what its form is going to be. I like to remind people that railways started in 1825 and the iPhone arrived in 2007 and ChatGPT went to the public in November 2022. So we're still early days, just starting to mature. We're seeing a bit of extra CapEx at the moment. We're watching valuations. We're thinking about future earnings. But, you know, is AI the big story? Of course. Is it going to be disruptive to software? Almost certainly. Is it going to be disruptive in other ways? Of course. But nobody quite knows just how.
Yeah, so how do you separate these AI-driven gains from the real thing or just hype? Do you have any concerns that when you look at this AI trade, does any of it look like a bubble, like shades of the dot-com bubble?
Oh, I think the fundamental thing to know about Australian Super is that we're an active investor. And, you know, the world is swimming in passive cash and passive capital. And our people spend a great deal of time looking for value and where we're going to generate free cash flow in the future. So, you know, we're not just following the index here. We're very thoroughly, carefully thinking about who are the likely winners, who are the likely ones to create long-term value, but most importantly, who's got the CapEx right, who's going to have the earnings right, and who's going to have a sustainable business model in the future in the context of a globally diversified portfolio. And of course, that's so important to investors and to the members of the fund that they've got exposure in various markets, various sectors, and across all asset classes.
Okay, so in terms of being active and globally diversified, are you redeploying money to Asia from the US or elsewhere?
We're very strong on the US. You know, it's been the source of the greatest earnings and wealth over the years. I'll just give you one example. If you had $100 and you invested in European markets in 1920, it's worth $19,200 today. If you had the same $100 and invested in the US markets in 1920, it's worth $104,600 today, 5 times. So many of the great companies are in the US. So much of the earnings is in the US. So we're strong in the US, but we're coming from behind. About 35% of the portfolio is exposed to the US. So we're strong in the US. We're investing in the US. We've got a great office there in New York to help us invest well for members. But it's also true that we are diversifying and thinking about Asia, especially through the PE lens, because Asia is going to represent 42% of GDP in not too long.
Now, you did mention PE there. That is attracting some significant interest at the moment. Can you tell us a little bit more about your strategy for private equity investing?
private equity represents to us obviously the greatest opportunity for reward, but also risk. And it's also an expensive way to invest. So we're thinking very deeply about PE. Our global head of PE is based in New York. Our future is one of raw PE, probably about 4% of the portfolio is PE at the moment. We'll probably get to 10. The fund's going to triple over that time, so you can exceed the size of an exposure growing. And where we are at the moment is just at the beginning of a plan to expand our PE exposures in Asia and across Asia, and as I say, across various countries. So PE is going to be very important to us. It's a very important part of building Australian super members' retirement balances. I imagine we can double our exposure in a fund that's tripling. It's a co-underwrite, co-invest, deep partners, high quality GP strategy that we're implementing, and it's one that we're now thinking about expanding into Asia.
So if you're going to expand this into Asia, which particular markets would you be looking at? And how do you navigate around some of the transparency risks when it comes to private markets?
It's very important that we do this prudently and thoughtfully. We've had some really good experience. We've got an office in Beijing, which helps us a great deal. We've had some really great experience in India. We're energized about where Japan is at the moment and the opportunities that exist there. So I don't want to foreshadow exactly what we'll be doing and where, but I think it's more likely that those opportunities will exist in those strong, more developed nation economies where we've already got existing connections and relationships.
Australian Super Chief Executive Paul Schroeder speaking to Bloomberg's Paul Allen. And you can explore live streaming news and interviews, as well as all Bloomberg TV shows, documentaries, reporter analysis, and more in one place. Check it out at bloomberg.com/videos. We're also seeing rare earth stocks falling in Australia and South Korea. That's after the Trump administration hosted a major summit on critical minerals, bringing together 55 countries to cut reliance on China and secure stable supplies. Vice President J.D. Vance called for predictable investment conditions and a coordinated agreement on price floors. The topic has been discussed among industry players as a way to protect non-Chinese companies from China.
Today, the international market for critical minerals is failing. Consistent investment is nearly impossible, and it will stay that way so long as prices are erratic and unpredictable.
President Trump says Chinese President Xi Jinping will come to the White House towards the end of the year. That's after he had a long, thorough, and as he said, excellent phone call with Xi on the phone on Wednesday. Let's bring our China correspondent Mimin Do in Hong Kong into this. Mimin, how did both sides portray that phone call?
Yeah, April, certainly it seems like a very fruitful one, given that President Trump announced that he is now inviting President Xi to a visit that will happen before the end of the year. This is obviously a reciprocal move after he said that he will be visiting China in April. So all signs pointing to the relationship stabilizing. He said on Truth Social that his personal relations with President Xi is extremely good. He talked about a range of issues, everything from Taiwan to Ukraine to Iran, and trade issues as well. China committing to buy about 20 million tons of soybeans this harvest, 25 million tons at the next harvest. He talked about oil and gas purchases from China as well. But interestingly, you contrast that with the Chinese readout. The tone is a lot more serious. China saying that it always aligns its actions with words, and kind of signaling to the US that they want to see the same sort of behavior from the US as well. And one key focus of the Chinese readout was Taiwan. China outlining that this is the single most important issue in US-China relations, and warning the US to exercise utmost caution when it comes to arms deal with Taiwan, saying that China will never allow Taiwan to be separated from it. And of course, this comes after the US had inked a deal last year, one of the largest ever, totaling about $11 billion, that really angered China and led to a very expensive military drill around Taiwan.
They're calling it Q Day, the moment when quantum computers are powerful enough to break the encryption that protects our digital world. As Q Day approaches, the real challenge is how do you protect data in motion?
The U.S. power grid faces the challenge of meeting rising demand at a magnitude that hasn't been seen for decades. Within the next few years, U.S. data centers could consume electricity that's comparable to millions of homes.
Our answer is advanced nuclear fuel. Our production capability can provide enough power for over 16 million Americans.
The U.S. electricity sector seems to be at an inflection point. It's important to have solutions that are scalable and clean.
And the timing of this conversation is so interesting because President Xi also spoke with President Putin just hours before talking with Trump. How did that conversation go?
Yes, that's a very different conversation. It was an hour and a half long, so a very long video call that the two men had, according to TASS, the Russian state media. They talked about Venezuela, they talked about Cuba, they talked about Iran, and of course they reaffirmed their relationship. China is saying that it will continue to open up its economy to Russia, that they should jointly safeguard this global international order. So a show of unity from the two sides. And as you said, the timing is very interesting because it is coming as President Trump is weighing potential attacks on Iran and has threatened additional tariffs on countries that trade with Iran. And of course, China is the number one trading partner of Iran. And analysts have said that both Russia and China, they both see Iran as this linchpin and a counterbalance to the U.S. in the Middle East. So no wonder they have such a close relations. And if you look at the People's Daily, which is the Communist Party mouthpiece, it's interesting to note that the coverage of President Xi and Putin's call was taking a lot more space. We can show it on the screen. It's taking up a lot more space than the President Xi and Trump phone call. So that shows you the importance of the relationship with Putin. You can see the top right corner, that's the coverage of Xi and Trump's phone call, taking up a lot less space than the other one.
Oh, that's quite interesting. Bloomberg China correspondent then with the latest on those two conversations by President Xi Jinping with world leaders. Now, we are keeping an eye on the oil prices, tensions between the U.S. and Iran in focus. Both sides saying that diplomatic talks are still set to go ahead in Oman on Friday, but President Trump has told NBC News Tom Yamas that Iran's supreme leader should be worried as the U.S. forces amass in the region.
I would say he should be very worried, yeah. He should be. As you know, they're negotiating with us.
I know they are, but the protesters have said, where are the Americans? You promised them we would have their back. Do we still have their back?
We've had their back, and look, that country's a mess right now because of us. We went in, we wiped out their nuclear. So I didn't take out, peace in the Middle East. Yeah. If I didn't take out their nuclear, think of it. If we didn't take out that nuclear, we wouldn't have peace in the Middle East because the Arab countries could have never done that. They were very, very afraid of Iran. Yeah. They're not afraid of Iran anymore.
I watched the Deputy Bureau Chief Laura Davidson joins us with the latest on this. Actually, what's the latest, Laura? Where are we in these conversations? Because we're also very confused about the parameters of these conversations.
Yeah, there's been a lot of back and forth really just in the past day or so about where these talks are going to take place and what who will be in the room and what the scope of the conversations will be. The U.S. originally said that these talks were going to be in Turkey. They would meet on Friday. Now the venue has shifted to Oman. It's unclear exactly if both sides have fully agreed here. U.S. wants there to be participants, foreign leaders from other countries in the region, in the room, not as necessarily active participants, but as observers. The U.S. also wants the conversation to focus on a more broad aperture here, not just focusing on the nuclear program, but also on the ballistic missile program, the treatment of protesters, as well as the Iranian support for other militant groups in the region. The U.S. has said that this is really important, that this has a more wide-ranging conversation versus something that's just focused on the nuclear program. So this really calls into question about, if they can't agree on the venue, the format, who's going to be participating, are they able to really come to any sort of meaningful conclusion out of these talks scheduled for Friday?
Yeah, so Laura, who might some of the brokers or the mediators for these talks be?
so for the U.S., it will be Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner in the room, as well as White House envoy Steve Witkoff. The U.S. is really essentially trying to get a temperature of where Iran is on the issue. We have yet to really hear a cohesive strategy from the president of how he wants to proceed with Iran. We've heard him over the past several weeks talk about this armada of ships that's headed towards the region. He said in this NBC interview just a couple hours ago that that Iran should be worried. But we haven't really seen, kind of any plans going forward. A lot of international observers have noted this is a similar strategy that Trump used before it went into the country to arrest Nicolas Maduro in Venezuela. So that's of course what Iran will be watching for closely. Does the U.S. seem serious here in pursuing some sort of military attack, or is this sort of leverage going into the conversation to sort of show some military might that Trump doesn't actually intend to use? That is still unclear.
So what are the low-hanging fruits and perhaps some avenue of compromise here?
Yeah, so I think both sides are looking for ways to at least de-escalate the tension. Iran is going into this conversation with a lot less leverage than it had a couple months or even a year ago. As these protests in the street, have really bubbled up. This is the first time that we're really seeing the U.S. side and the Iranian side sit down since these protests have happened. Of course, there's been sort of a ratcheting up of tensions. There was a drone that was shot down yesterday. So the lowest hanging fruit, the easiest thing they could achieve is to at least cool the temperature and agree to talk again at a later date.
Laura Davison there joining us from Hong Kong, Bloomberg's Washington Deputy Bureau Chief. We have more ahead on the Asia trade. This is Bloomberg. Take a look at how Japanese assets are trading. We're seeing a little bit of upside for Japanese equities after a session of losses that were taken down by that tech sell-off. Software makers were down. Tech names have been under pressure, but we're seeing a little bit of a reversal early in the Asian trade as we continue to see a very weak Japanese yen compared to just a few days ago. 156 is your level, headed towards 157 ahead of the lower house elections this weekend, and also as we head towards a 30-year JGB sale as well. And really, it's all about positioning, isn't it? Because we do have those elections coming up this Sunday. Our senior stocks reporter, Hideyuki Sano, joins us now for what to expect. Because Hide, of course, the expectation that Takaichi's side will probably have a major win here. We're seeing a little bit of acceleration in the supposed Takaichi trade. What are you watching?
Exactly, yeah. This doesn't include, I think, that the Takaichi is the bottom.
Yeah, it seems that we don't necessarily.
The other team is going to win the comfortable majority, and that will allow her to consolidate power and give her strong mandate to push through expansive fiscal policies. And if you look at the performance of the Japanese stocks since the first world surprise election came out, the market has outperformed other key major developed market, and also defense stocks, which are considered as a Takaichi play, have done quite well. So there are signs that investors are already pricing in the strong chance of the LVP victory.
What are the risks for Japanese stock markets, especially given that we have seen an incredible run-up with the weaker Japanese yen as well?
Yeah, I mean, one clear risk is that she may not be able to meet already elevated expectations because investors are already expecting quite strong showing by the LVP. And another perhaps more, or potentially more serious risk is that the election victory may embolden her to take even more aggressive stimulus to such an extent that it may ruffle the bond market. Now, if you look back just last month, the Japanese government bond market went through a major sell-off precisely because she suddenly announced a plan to cut consumption tax on food. And some investors threat that she may again test the limits of on vigilant again, whether
intentional or not. And if bond prices fall too much, then that is going to have a major consequence for Japanese stock market as well. And also in the long run, there's a risk that aggressive policy might stir inflation again. Now, Japan's inflation has been increasingly sticky and is also becoming home-driven rather than just simple policy pushing inflation. And the yen has also weakened again after keeping a 3-month high the other day, just after a suspected rate check. So if the yen weakens further, then that could raise the risk of inflation. Inflation expectations measured by Japanese inflation-linked bonds have been rising, so that is another risk to watch.
Our senior stocks reporter Hideyuki Sano there with what to expect from the markets as we head towards that election this weekend. In fact, we have more on Bloomberg Big Take. We're looking at Prime Minister Takaichi's vision for a more assertive Japan as well. We hear from people who know her best about where she hopes to lead the nation if her election gamble pays off. Subscribers can read that in full on the terminal and on Bloomberg.com. It's also earnings season here in Japan. Mitsubishi UFJ shares under pressure today, falling after the bank's earnings did not necessarily provide any positive surprises. Analysts highlighting unrealized losses on yen bonds. Also looking ahead to Sony, who will be reporting later today. We'll be watching how memory chip supply issues factor in. Let's bring in Japan equities reporter Alice French. Alice, MUFG still posted a pretty solid quarter, profits rising, but the market's not necessarily too happy right now.
Yeah, look, I think part of the problem is really kind of the high expectation that there are around Japanese bank stocks at the moment, right? Of course, we know that they've been rallying over really the past 2 years because of these, the BOJ rate hikes, and we know the policy rate now up at 0.75%. That's going to be, further tailwinds for Mitsubishi UFJ and the other mega banks. But it sounds like, the loan yield growth for Mitsubishi in the last quarter was slightly slower than peers. And as you mentioned, some analysts pointing out those bond losses, and it'll be interesting to see. I think we'll really start to see those kind of reflected in the earnings next quarter and how much that might impact sort of the sector as a whole. But yeah, I think just a little bit of disappointment. But I wouldn't be surprised if it kind of resumes that rally, especially as we have expectations for more BOJ hikes later this year.
And Sony in focus, given of course the tech sell-off that we continue to see, but also because Nintendo underwhelmed.
Absolutely. It is all about memory. And of course, we were talking about Nintendo yesterday that got a big hit. These memory issues are just all that everyone was talking about when it comes to game consoles, right? And of course, Sony, it's not just things like the PlayStation. They also make so many other consumer electronics, TVs, smartphones, and these kind of soaring memory prices that are up on, AI demand. They are going to hit Sony's margin. Morgan Stanley predicting that, Sony might have to even raise console prices by as much as 10%. Of course, that could hit demand. Having said that, Sony it's a diversified company. They do have other areas to fall back on. We know they have strength in things like music and films. They've had the Demon Slayer movie. They've had the Ghost of Yotei game software coming out recently too. So there are also upsides and things that kind of cushion that caution. But I think it's going to be all about memory, and that's going to be in focus today.
Over Japan equities reporter Alice French there as we continue to watch all of these moves on exporters as well, gaining ground today as we continue to see weak Japanese yen against the US dollar, the worst performer just yesterday against G10 currencies. This is Bloomberg.
We've been talking about this momentum unwind and how it's been hitting tech stocks. You're seeing Japan, South Korea already reeling, and China looks like it's not going to be immune. Looks like it'll be a down day, a rough day for stocks in the region. That's it from the Asia trade. The China show is next. This is Bloomberg.
grid faces the challenge of meeting rising demand at a magnitude that hasn't been seen for decades. In the next few years, U.S. data centers could consume electricity that's comparable to millions of homes.
Our answer is advanced nuclear fuel. What we are working towards is deployment of uranium enrichment capability at scale. That's the challenge we're focused on here in Piketon, Ohio. Inside the centrifuges and enrichment, gas spins at a very high rate of speed, and then we get a product for HALEU, or high assay low enriched uranium, that'll be utilized for advanced small modular reactors.
Compared to traditional nuclear reactors, SMRs are expected to be smaller, faster to build, and more cost efficient, while still generating enough electricity to run fleets of data centers, factories, or communities.
We are the only facility that is producing HALEU right now in the Western world. We can fill both buildings with over 11,000 centrifuges. That production capability can provide enough power for over 16 million Americans.
Here in the U.S., electricity demand could increase 50% by 2040. Meeting this demand will require a range of solutions, from nuclear power alongside wind, solar, batteries, and natural gas.
America invented uranium enrichment decades ago. It's critical to have that domestic source so that we don't depend on foreign imports coming to the United States.
It's 5 a.m. in New York City. Good morning. I'm Molly Quinn with your Bloomberg Brief. Let's get you set up for the day. A global tech sell-off stalling now as silver and gold continue their downward slide. Investors punishing Alphabet on its capex plans, Arm and Qualcomm on their forecasts. Amazon on deck today. And geopolitics in focus as Iran confirms Friday talks with the United States as a second day of tripartite peace talks continues in Abu Dhabi. Let's take a look at these markets. We have futures really just deciding on a direction at this point. Nasdaq 100 futures up about 0.1% right now. This, of course, after we erased all of our gains and more on the Nasdaq 100 yesterday. A really tough day for tech stocks. It's been a tough month, really, for tech stocks. And we have more earnings on deck today. It seems investors' bar is so high for these tech stocks. Anything displeases them. CapEx plans, for example, if they're too high. Memory problems are the latest thing that came out in our results yesterday. Russell 2000 futures just hanging on in there. Let's take a look at bonds because we got the refunding announcement. It looks like it might be back-end skewed, and that might cause the steepener trade to continue. The 30-year yield, as you can see, close to 492, but that 2-year yield is down to 354 at the moment, and that 10-year yield sort of hasn't decided on direction yet. Does it want to go back to 420, or does it want to break out of those ranges? Let's take a look at precious metals, because we had that 2-day halt of the slide. In fact, we had a little bit of a recovery even. Looks like the slide is resuming, particularly for silver. Now, we're still at nearly $79 an ounce, albeit, but still, we're down 11%. Gold firmly back at the 480 level, which, would at one time have been a, very, very strong gain for gold, but at this point, it does seem to be a decline. And the dollar index is strengthening once today. We're seeing yen weakness again. All right, let's get to some individual movers now. For that, we'll go over to London and Chloe now. Chloe.
Good morning, Molly. Alphabet is looking a little weaker this morning. Revenue came in ahead of expectations, but the problem here is that the forecast for capital expenditure was way ahead of what investors had expected. So some analysts are saying this is good news, a sign that the company is really confident in AI. But then some are saying that this massive spending is maybe a little bit concerning. And we are seeing that reflected in those shares, down a little over 2% this morning. On the other hand, the fact that Alphabet is going to be a big spender is seen as a big positive for all those companies within the AI infrastructure space. And we are seeing names like Broadcom, which is Google's chip-making partner, for example, move higher this morning in pre-market trading. The fact that companies are unleashing this AI spending means more business coming their way, and therefore this is green across the screen for those AI infrastructure stocks this morning. And finally, LPT is also in the green after boosting its profit guidance. It said that the performance at Roche, which is
Hailey Bieber's skincare and beauty brand that it just recently acquired have been particularly strong. And so we are up actually almost 8% this morning for this consumer brand.
Definitely a good acquisition there for Chloe. Thank you so much. And coming up in this hour, we're going to be speaking with Kit Dukes of Sub10 on the weakness we're seeing in the dollar. Our top story then, a sell-off in tech stalling as shares of Alphabet fall in the pre-market after outlining an ambitious capital spending plan to win AI.
You need something to drink from the store?
You
want something to drink from the store?
Revenue from AI solutions.
Y'all got me stuck on them now. Yo, that's what I mean. Like, y'all want to Sprite.
Commitments from our top
Yo,
15 software partners grew more than 16x year over year.
Yo, it could be a
Joining us now
can,
is
Mr.
Tom
Brian. The
McKenzie,
small
host
can
of
is fine because you know I can't drink the
Europe.
big one.
So the Alphabet story is always a little bit
I
different
want to,
because
though.
Alphabet has its flaws in so many things, right, Tom? What were investors not happy with when it comes to CapEx plans, given that it has a lot to spend CapEx on?
Down the street.
Well, indeed, and to your point about having its fingers in lots of pies,
I'm retired. I'm a
diversified
celebrity
business
barber as
everywhere
well.
from the chips that they produce,
You know, I got
to
grandkids
the data
now.
centers, to
You see, I'm not on the sales floor
AI
anymore. You
models
know,
themselves, in which they now
my
are
nephews,
arguably
they,
leading
you
to
know,
that touch point
football,
with consumers as well.
basketball,
That's why
any
Alphabet
sport,
is
they
our
go
performance
bananas over there.
tech names that we've seen.
So then when Miss Allison, which I'm surprised she didn't come in today, it's just a recipe for disaster.
The top line was, this is a solid set of
I have my own wives and my own daughters to keep happy. My mama, my aunts, the women here, my niece Bessie next to us, she has the salon barbershop to our right.
For
And
2026,
then my Uncle Charlie's building his first office into algorithm station. So this is just like an extension. But it's more, you know, I can keep up with the stock markets, I can teach here and stuff like that.
Right.
Professional conversation, I don't have to talk about turning up and all that. Whatever that is, it sounds like it can get you arrested. And I come here in a business suit, but I live in Japan. You know, my nearest home to here is California.
They have that contract there as well. And this is a company, don't forget, Alphabet, that
They
is
look
now
like literally,
supplying AI to Apple. So yes, it's been a downward pressure today. Maybe the focus is on CapEx spend, but longer term, there are a lot of drivers for Alphabet. Many would argue
And that's what happens in so many places. You know, as children, they don't know how to change gears.
Yeah, it even broke out the numbers from Gemini Enterprise.
Elderly
Now
people,
has more
they
than
don't know how
8
to change
billion.
gears. You gotta be like a transmission.
4 months ago.
You know,
Tom, I want to move to the memory problems
just the
with
fellas,
Qualcomm and
just the
ARM, who were
fellas.
also hit
Now we
by
got
this
children and
concern that
babies and
there's
elderly people. You
shortage
know, we
and
gotta
it's spreading.
respect. We are a family from the church, a military family, small business operator, you know.
To those
We
data
have to
centers
hold ourselves to
because of
a high
that AI
standard, you
demand.
know.
There's going to be less memory available for the makers.
Remember, they'll
of
never
smartphones.
say
We're gonna be
that
particularly
barber.
seeing
They'll
that
say
in China,
the barbers from that barber shop
So that was
are
the drag there.
ghetto.
It's still under pressure.
The family's
On
like,
the
no,
back
do
of that
not go
expectation
there.
of quite simply
You know, in the
there will
Lion
be
King,
fewer
when they
smartphones
tell
being shipped
Simba,
because of the
don't
memory
go to
shortage.
where the elephants
Therefore,
are, you know, the graveyard, like, you must not go there. It's the
Qualcomm, of
same
course, has
thing.
been trying to pivot
We want
to
people
the
to
AI
come
data
here
center
and be able to say, yo, that's my
So
spot.
into the future,
You know,
there
I
is a
could recommend
some
anybody
aspect
there.
still
Imagine
quite
you invite somebody here, we over
positioned
here,
for the upside.
F-bomb
The AI
this,
story, the
F-bomb
focus
that.
right now is on the fact that there are going to be fewer
Mind you,
smartphones,
I teach
much less
engineering,
demand
law,
at sea, so there's less
technology,
demand for
retirement,
processors. One
psychology,
silver lining
medicine
maybe,
overall, you
the
know what I mean?
focus from the smartphone makers is on the
I'm
high
over
end
here,
of the
yeah,
smartphones,
because, you know,
so they're going to
Tupac's
focus
better
on
than
the most
Biggie.
expensive models.
Listen,
So
I
better
can listen to
margins
both
for companies
Tupac
like
and Biggie
that could be something
outside of
for the
my
silver lining
family.
as we look at
When
the
I
shift
drop
in supply
off the kids in
dynamics
school,
and
oh man, I'm on the West Coast. When I pick them up, right before I'm on the
It's
East
a
Coast.
tech
But when I
buzz, and
pick
we
them
have
up,
Amazon reporting
Sade,
after
baby.
Bell today. So
Bill
what should we be
Collins.
looking for
You know
now
what
that
I'm
we
saying?
know what's going on at some of the
I
other
may
tech
listen
companies?
to some Enya. You know, my
Yeah,
family's
look,
from
Amazon
overseas,
stock
so
is
Enya is really, really big. She's like Sade, but
12 months or
she's
so.
more like,
Down about
think about
2%.
Sade
Focus,
and like
of course, will
Evanescence
be on both
kind of
Amazon,
together, but not in
also
rhyme. The
on
lyrics are
AWS,
very
cloud
deep.
and
Production
CapEx,
is
just familiar
bananas. Like I'm talking like
in terms of
Phil
AWS
Collins level production.
you're going to see growth
And
of
yo, the
around
lyrics are deep.
20%
And overseas,
21%.
you kind of have a better chance to think about those records. I'm a car guy, you know, I sell Ferraris and all that stuff. And when I'm listening, driving those cars, it's like the classics, like stuff from the 80s, old country rock and roll. Like I'm not gonna listen to Little John and the East Side Boys in my Bentley.
And how much they spend in terms of capex on their own
Get
data
so
centers, and how much they're spending on build out, design, and research and talent.
I'll be in my
build out
top
that
four
own
business suit.
AI inferencing
You
chip
know,
as well.
studying
That
the
may also
market.
be something that is
But I
scrutinized.
don't see why you gotta throw my little toothbrush. You just can't do it in the barbershop. Or okay, do it when we're cleaning.
Turning to politics
Do it
now,
when we're
President
doing
Trump telling
opening
NBC
procedures or
News
closing procedures.
Right.
that
But you
he has a
can't
fresh
do that with
warning
the
for
babies. You
Iran's
know, got the
leaders.
Pokemon stuff. I put the Pokemon League on for them. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can't have them listen to that.
I know they are, but the protesters
Throw
have
my
said,
jazz,
you know,
little
we're
piano
not the
music,
Americans who promised them
background
we would
music.
have their back, and we still have
And
their
I
back.
teach, I study everything. This is the Central Command Center. You know? I'm Air Force Space Force. I'm retired, but the internet here is military grade. Like Starbucks has good internet, McDonald's has good internet, over 200 megabytes per second. Here we have a few gigs.
Joining
So I
us
can
now from
design
Istanbul
anything
is
from the
Bloomberg's
new
Patrick
Pureit
Sykes. Patrick,
to
we do
the
have
new
confirmation from the
how
Iranian
you
side
do
that
it.
talks will
We'll
go
be
ahead
right
now
with you,
Friday
sir.
in
Just have a seat.
Iran. Will
I'm trying to
anything
design
but
the
nuclear
new
be on the agenda?
what's that called? The George Foreman grill. I'm in the wrong business. That's what I need to engineer. You know what I mean? So I can retire. So I got grandbabies. You know. After I finish with the haircut, I'm gonna throw on my shoes and my button down. You just called me while I was shaving. I'm like, no problem, I got you. Hey, would you like for us to trim your eyebrows today? You want to trim them down? Yes. So the volume coming off the skin, we'll trim them down and then we'll clean on the outside. What about the goatee? Keep the goatee, take everything else off? Like keep the diamond plate in the goatee? Okay, I got you. And don't worry, it's included with your haircut. There's no extra charge, okay? You know we're a high-end shop. But we always like to ask because people will do it every 2 or 3 haircuts, especially for the eyebrow. Me, I'm Wolverine, so I grow hair in my ears, outside of my ear, around my ear, so I got to get them trimmed. I'll be scaring the public if I don't.
Out of Iran, realistic in what way? That maybe this is just an opening gambit and it will consider putting other things on the table, or that it's not expecting too much from the United States in the way of sanctions relief?
I think the latter to a great extent, right? Iran has been burned from the experience of the nuclear deal initially.
Another thing I tell people is I sell Ferraris, but I drive a Corvette.
And then remember back in
I'm a recovering car collector. You gotta be careful with those cars, man. If you don't know how to control that habit, it's expensive. Every time you trade out, you're gonna lose in the down payment of the trading. There's no escaping it. Yeah, you wanna have 3 cars in a year? Oh, that's gonna come with a package. Those guys look
sure than realistic about that. I think for Iran as well, the priority is sanctions relief. That's what they've said. Right?
I know my nephews are young, you know, they have stuff to do, they want to go out with the girlfriend and stuff like that. That's a phase of life.
The US intervention.
But I can't go party with them.
A lot of that material, the program was buried or effectively stopped.
Where are you? At home. With who? My wife and my kids. What are you doing? Studying. What should you be doing? The same goddamn thing. There's nothing to find out there in the streets. You know what I'm saying? But nonsense. You want to party at home, man. I'm a big believer. What happens to do a barbecue at home, you know?
All right, Patrick, thank you so much. That is Bloomberg's Patrick Sykes. European Central Bank set to keep interest rates on hold until Tuesday.
You ain't driving nowhere. Uber and Lyft.
So if we already know that we're very likely to get a hold, Lizzie, what should we be looking for out of any statement and any comments from the president?
Well, Bonnie, it's been an eventful start for me, for all of us, but the ECB
Simple, basic stuff, you know. I got a cousin named Juju. I can't bring him to the club because if you step on his shoes, he wants to lose his freedom. I can't lose my freedom with my cousin Juju.
Among economists and
I'm
traders.
not going to jail calling my wife. Yeah, because you know, Juju got into an argument at the bar with the bar owner and the manager and the bouncer and the club clients. And
you know, not so long ago, even if it feels like a long time ago, after the comment
I'm not spending my night in Central Booking with my cousin Juju.
and the market reaction to it. Well, that's faded because, first of all, we've had the inflation undershoot. Secondly, we've had the euro touching
you don't want to party in the United States? Party overseas, party on vacation.
Stay
in the resort. We are in Punta Cana, Mexico. What do you think is going to happen when we leave the resort? We're going to be the fucking gorditas in the carne asada. Yo, thank you so much, sir. And all because you stayed in the resort. I know, you find a lady linda, you want to go to her village. She loves you, the family loves you, but the people in the neighborhood don't like you.
Is of course
Oh, look at this gringo.
politics and President Trump's threats.
Coming here and taking our girls, you know what I'm saying? Now you got a problem.
Tariff threats back, but the trade uncertainty lingers over the euro area.
If life is like, it's not what you do, it's how you do it. You know, you can just, in this country, you just make one mistake, man. They pull you over, wrong thing in the car, wrong people, you're done.
The Austrian central bank chief, he says that they need full optionality
And the judge is not trying to hear it that, yo, you didn't know about it. The judge doesn't care about that. Was it in your car? That's your responsibility, right? Okay.
All right, Lizzie, thank you so much. Lizzie is in Frankfurt and we have live
Go try to collect from my cousin Judy. You're rather fly to Puerto Rico before you said you would.
Now, to
I was taking the money, but I'm in Puerto Rico. I'm like, yo, you know Puerto Rico has Walmart, right? You know, you can Walmart to Walmart. Yeah, but you know people speak Spanish. I don't want to hear that, Juju. You guys got locked up, right? You still don't get it? All right. Wait till that good woman leaves. One day you're going to come home and nothing.
Fresh political risk in the United Kingdom is knocking the pound down.
When a woman's fed up, I'm trying to tell you. Getting married is easy. Staying married.
Sterling is the worst performing
That's the
currency
challenge right there.
The moves
Trying to stay married.
Starmer's grasp on power. And Shell's fourth quarter profit missed estimates. The energy giants will weak oil trading performance and it's struggling chemicals
You think I'm going to let my insurance overlap
Shell
at
is maintaining
this
its quarterly
phase
share
of
buyback to almost
$2026?
$3.5 billion.
What?
Coming up,
I have to
Maersk
burn
shares
that
are
phase.
slumping on the shipping giant's uncertain outlook. We're interviewing with the CEO next.
Well, sir, let's let you have a close look. Welcome back to your show, sir. When you came to the shop, you looked like one of your cousins. We didn't know who it was, okay? We want to thank you once again for giving us the opportunity to be in barbershop. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to be a barbershop.
You know, this is the second time you've got my phone.
Hey, we're cousins, man. I just,
It's been a while.
No worries. You know I travel with this music stuff.
No.
Yeah, I'm negotiating a tour in Switzerland. I got 5 concerts. The main one next Saturday for Valentine's Day. And I'm telling the promoters, like, yo, you got to deposit so I can fly. If you don't deposit, you think I'm going to be able to just fly overnight when everybody's trying to go to Switzerland, you know, during Valentine's Day? But I'm dealing with promoters from overseas. They don't understand the concept of time. They live in a beautiful island in Dominican Republic. They're like, oh, we can wait to negotiate. I'm like, we spoke 6, 7 o'clock this morning. I need an answer by 3 o'clock. I don't know what y'all thinking over there, but listen, if they give me a wedding in Kissimmee, I'm out of here. They give me a fucking Sweet 16 in Lake Mary, gone. They give me a fucking corporate event in Maitland. Gotta go. All right, sir, y'all set to go. Whatever you normally pay is fine. All I'm gonna do is hide it from my girlfriend, okay? You know I travel. I'm diabetic. I just flew in and haven't shaved. I'm over here jet lag. But give me like 72 hours. I will be looking nice. Right? Look at all my business partners. These guys wake up early. How can I wake up late? God will punish me. Thank you so much. Have a blessed day. Enjoy your beautiful family. Don't forget the jacket. It'll be on eBay if you leave it. All right, have a blessed day. See you next time. That's hilarious. All right, let's rock and roll, baby. Oh, Jesus.
The rest of the business though continues to progress. Demand, underlying demand for the services that we provide, whether it is in shipping, in terminal, or in logistics, remains strong. There's good opportunities for growth. There's good opportunities also for further margin progression. One thing that is a big question mark is the freight rate environment, the pricing environment in the shipping.
Okay. And that's going to be determined by, amongst other things, the Red Sea, as you say. What's your level of confidence that the Red Sea is going to continue to reopen? We've got Iran-US talks taking place over the next few days. Huge amounts of tension in the region. We've got a carrier group from the US that's just arrived. What is your level of confidence that that Red Sea story is going to evolve kind of as anticipated right now?
Yeah, so I think let me start with the situation in Gaza, which clearly is making progress. We've seen the reopening of Rafah, and we seem to be moving into the next phase of the reconstruction there.
Gotta arrange
So clearly
this
the
first.
temperature has come down.
Let me get a broom real quick so we
There's
can
not
change
been
it
any
up.
attack for quite a few months now.
Ah, look at my nephew popping down. Check it out. Check it out now. The phone soul brother, right about now. What?
The next two have been singled out, and the dates will be communicated shortly. So that will actually put a significant amount of our deployment back to the normal setting. And we do this because we actually believe that the direction of travel, first of all, today is safe, and secondly, we believe that the chances that this will continue to move in that direction are much higher than the opposite. Now, as you rightfully point out, there is also a new situation playing out between the US and Iran, which we're following very closely, and we're going to act very prudently. If this was to evolve in a negative way, we can undo some of the decisions we have made so far. But overall, after a few years of absence from the Red Sea and sailing through the Suez Canal, we believe that the time has come now. The conditions are in place.
All the space I was looking for. Right.
Maersk CEO Vincent Kerr speaking there with Bloomberg's guidance. Coming up, the latest on SpaceX's plans to go public, more on that, and a look at what else is making new headlines in your front page news. This. This is Bloomberg Brief. I'm Molly Quinn in New York. Time now for your front page news. First up on the Wall Street Journal, SpaceX is looking for an early boost for its shares after its IPO later this year. According to the journal, advisors to Elon Musk have reached out to major index providers for guidance on getting included in the indexes sooner than usual. The process typically takes several months, even a year after a public debut. Inclusion, of course, unlocks access to retail and institutional capital. Next up, the Washington Post is reporting the Supreme Court has cleared the way for a California voting map that bolsters Democrats. It's a major victory for the party as it looks to offset a nationwide push by Republicans and President Trump to redraw congressional maps to gain advantage in this year's midterms. The ruling will remain in effect while a lawsuit challenging California's map works its way through the courts. And finally, the New York Times on that call between President Trump and China's President Xi Jinping. The Times says the lengthy phone call covered a range of issues, including Iran, Ukraine, and soybeans. Mr. Trump described the call as, quote, excellent, long, and thorough. The Times says the description from Chinese state media was much more forceful and suggested the issue of Taiwan was front and center. And those are your front page headlines. Let's take a look at markets because that two-day rebound that we saw for precious metals has now been firmly arrested, and we're seeing volatility once again with silver down 11%. In fact, silver volatility is approaching a record. Gold down 2%, still at the $4,800 mark. And then some strength to the Bloomberg US dollar index. We're seeing weakness, particularly for the yen ahead of the weekend's elections. We're going to be speaking with Kit Jukes about currencies in a moment. Let's take a look at futures, though, because a tough round of tech earnings, investors really punishing the likes of AMD, Qualcomm. S&P futures are pointed higher. We'll see if that stays true today with Amazon later on. Bitcoin still trying to find a floor, $71,500 now, and that 10-year yield at 427.56. We are seeing the 2-year yield drop and a steepener trade on with the 30-year yield just rising ever so slightly. Coming up, we're going to be looking at dollar pressure with Kit Jukes. Citizen General's chief FX strategist. That's next. This is
okay. So we're gonna try this again, okay? All right, y'all ready? Watch. I'm gonna start shaving the client when it come right there. All right. Now I'm running on one cup of coffee.
5:30 a.m. in New York City. Good morning. I'm Molly Quinn with your Bloomberg Brief. That's what we set up for the day. The global tech stalling potentially as silver and gold continue their downward slide. Investors punishing Alphabet on its CapEx plans on Qualcomm on their forecasts. Amazon is on deck today. And oil drops as Iran confirms a Friday talks with the United States easing immediate risk of military strikes. That's oil still about $64 here in New York. Now looking at the turnaround picture, so futures pointed slightly higher. This is a pretty major sell-off yesterday. The Nasdaq really erasing all of the things for the year in yesterday's session. It was down 1.8% at the close. The 2000 is continuing on its merry way. It's the leader this year, and I guess it
We
should
need more
remain that
power.
way.
More power,
bonds,
baby.
we are seeing a steepening trade in place. We did get the refunding announcements. So the next round of Treasury bills is pretty back-end loaded, so we have a Treasury yield of about 492, but that's assuming it is lower now. It's at 354.71. And let's take a look at metals, because we have that two-day arrest in the slide. If we had a rebound for silver and gold, well, the drop was resumed. Silver down is more than 11%. It's relatively approaching a record. Gold down over 2.2%. And the US dollar index, even though the weaker generally, the fact dollar index is higher today versus the dollar and other currencies. So for some stocks to watch, let's get to Tony Valley now in Perth.
Good morning, Holly. Alphabet is weaker this morning because of those big spending plans. So the capital expenditure forecast came in way ahead of what analysts and investors had expected. And the reaction has been a little bit mixed. Some are saying that this is good news, a sign that the company is committed to and confident in AI, whilst others are saying that this massive spending spree might be perhaps a cause for concern. So while that might be the case, this is actually cause for celebration for AI and construction stocks. So those are the companies that make AI clear. Things companies like Qualcomm, which is moving higher this morning because companies unleashing this AI spending is going to be beneficial for those companies. And so we are seeing the likes of Qualcomm, Marvel Technology, Applied Materials all moving higher this morning in pre-market trading. And finally, we've got Elf Beauty, which is also optimistic thanks to Qualcomm, Marvel, Applied Materials that I was mentioning. And then finally to Alpha Beauty, which is also in the green this morning after boosting its profit guidance. It seems that it has made one particularly good move, which is the acquisition of Rogue, the skincare and beauty brand. And the strong performance there is going to be driving those prospects for the company going forward, and it is up more than 8% in pre-market trading.
So thank you so much for joining me then. The US dollar spot index headed for its first back-to-back days in almost a month, but it's generally at its weakest level in nearly 4 years. It says it's thanks to the relative weakness of US rates and the impression that President Trump would welcome and continue to welcome the energy dollar, which is cheaper than standards and factoring now. So Kate, is the direction of travel fairly set? What would arrest this decline in the dollar as weakness that persists?
It's a fight between two forces, really, in the sense that the US economy is still outperforming everybody else. The market is pricing in rate cuts. It might get rates down a little bit for people, but nothing more than that. Because, there's a desire for lower rates, but probably inflation and growth and outlook don't really support it. The other side of it is just the will of the president. You can see to keep that high. A weaker currency because they believe that will help them rebalance global trade. And that's a more complicated issue. You can see the political risk. You can measure the political risk now dragging down the dollar at the same time as I know it's like this morning when the markets are nervous and discussed. As you can see the dollar rising on that. So we're in a tug of war that means the euro dollar exchange rate, which drives the XY to a large degree, is in a pretty tight range. So not doing anything very exciting, and then you go to the other bank and much more dramatically. I think at some point, I don't always think that the economy is going to win, and if the US economy doesn't run into a recession, we'll have a stronger dollar before the end of the year. But right now, it's a tug of war.
Okay, what do you make of the heavy watch pick? Assuming it does become Fed chair, is it the certain that it will cut rates? President Trump thinks so, but there does seem to be some kind of attention out there that he price attention.
Well, he doesn't get to decide on his own. There's a whole FOMC out there, lots of other people, and then history says that once you get a new chair in, the process kind of has an impact. It's hard for one person to force everybody else to go along with them when you have a vote every time. So I don't think that will stop the first rate cut, but that one will become more straightforward just from the process of normalization. But if you were to see parity reduced inflation coming to import prices coming as inventories of pre-tariff stocks run out and so the Americans start paying more for this, I think it's
difficult. If you continue to see GDP growth strong, kind of regardless of what's happening with the labour market, it gets more difficult. So it's okay for now, and one rate cut, fine. I think it gets tougher after.
Kate, you mentioned the euro and ECB obviously makes it very like a safe haven and so on. Is it comfortable with its level of rates here and with the relative strength of the euro?
The ECB is not comfortable with the strength of the euro because in real substance terms, it's got a very strong partner because it's got so much stronger against the Chinese yuan. And if you sit around here, you see an increasing number of Chinese cars, Chinese-made cars, have arrived in Europe. So they're not at all comfortable. They're getting downside surprises on the inflation data at the moment as well. But they are getting some upside surprises in growth, particularly again. So I think they're kind of okay in their mindset, but they don't want the currency to go higher, and they might start saying something about its price.
Interesting. It seems to be just kind of other intervention. Kate, we also, speaking of, have had some turbulence, let's say, with Japan, and there's no house elections this weekend, and then as we weakened since the 2022 in late January. Do we get more turbulence that filters through into the broader markets out of all of the eruptions that are happening in Japan?
I think we'll have clarity on the politics, and we should have after the weekend, and that comes down. But you don't have clarity on policy. The markets are concerned that the original Abenomics plan was to get out of the sunk the economy union with a fiscal base and to get growth that may start getting the debt to zero back. Unfortunately, the debt to zero now is much higher than it was then, and markets are worried that if you start to go for that again, it will backfire. Restoring confidence in debt sustainability in Japan is probably the most important thing to turn the currency around. And I don't know how you do it quickly. That's really the problem. You have to win over confidence gradually. The people start worrying about the running of the yield curve and most things that go down. So I think it's starting to be quite bumpy. And we're also so far away from any kind of sensible activity when the yen profits and the yen in general. It's very nuts at the moment. The Korean won looks like it's stabilizing. The yuan isn't going down anymore. And the yen is on its own just after the
Good. As we look out through the year, I mean, we have the RBA already kicking off this cycle schedule. So, but generally, looking along the year, right, and the US market is still looking for some rate cuts and so on. All of this could change multiple times. Where do you see the point of the year where you might see some turbulence, some difficulties, some tantrums, some jitters, let's say, in the rate of the currency market?
I think the first half of the year is where things are difficult in the sense that it's this conflict between, let's call it, geopolitics and economics. So that needs to sort of settle itself down so we can understand what we're doing. We're just reacting to headline after headline after headline after headline at the moment. But then you can get back to the economy, and that's not taking still. Just because, for example, I don't know if you were to have a labour market report this week, I wouldn't know what to do with it. I think it's too covering from the economy at this point in time of year. So it's going to be difficult, but I think we should settle down to relative growth, still more important at the back end of the year.
All right, good. So, we don't have to take this week, but we will have a next week apparently on February 11th. Pictures over really pleasure speaking with you, such a like what was also telling on the timeline this morning. Underperforming HSBC bankers completed early bonuses this year. And then taking a risky side is its real bonus to pay. According to sources, underperformers may be registered to exit after bonuses are paid in the coming weeks. The bank has relates to a major restructuring. Such political risk in the United Kingdom is knocking the pound and longer-term bonds, with out between 2 and 10 year gilt in its lightest since 2018. Sterling is the worst performing currency among peers. The moves come as doubts build over Prime Minister Keir Starmer's grasp on power. Meantime, the Bank of England is expected to leave interest rates on hold when it releases its decision today. The central bank expected to wait for more evidence that inflation is under control, despite rising concerns about labour markets. Coming up, President Trump has a fresh warning for Iran as talks are now set for tomorrow. More on that next.
Yes.
This is Big Day.
Sorry.
President sponsor of the UK
this World Cup feature here on the corner. What's the reason behind the technical problem? Well, it's obviously the graph for that reason, and the reason is
The US cargo faces the challenge of meeting rising demand and a magnitude that hasn't been seen for decades. In the next few years, US data centers will consume electricity at comparable to
Our answer is the same thing.
Well, my daughter
Inside the city, gas spins at a very high rate of speed, and then you get a product of high assay governments related that we utilize for advanced small machines.
For the price of additional nuclear reactors, SMRs are expected to far faster develop and less cost-effective. Thus, eliminating the cost-effective traditional space data centers faster is assimilated.
We have a growing facility that's producing helium right now in the Western Wall. We can fill circles of over 11,000 stations. That production capability can provide enough power for over 60 million.
In the US, electricity demand is expected to increase 50% by 2040. Meeting this demand will require a range of solutions, from nuclear power along small wind, solar, batteries, and natural gas.
America has been winning the game decades ago. It's critical to have that domestic source so we don't depend on foreign imports coming into the United States.
I would say we should do very well as well. We should do. As you know, they're negotiating levels. I know they are, but the protesters have said, we're like the Americans. You promised them we would have their back, and we still have their back. We've had their back, and that country's a mess right now because of us. They want to like that for a nuclear. So I would hope that, we're piecing the news. Are we trying to restart the nuclear? I don't know if they are. And if they do, then let them know. If they do, then they send them right back and their government.
President Trump sent Nevada's first message during the visiting event between news. Diplomatic talks between Washington and Tehran are set for tomorrow. Joining us now from Washington is Nika Sanger of Bloomberg Government. What are you hoping for out of these talks, Nika?
Yeah, these talks are going to be very critical right now with both countries, the U.S. and Iran, coming in with very different expectations. That this is going to be the first time that the U.S. has really engaged in negotiations since the U.S. military farmed Iran's nuclear program, essentially. And tensions are very high right now between the two countries, with President Trump really escalating rhetoric and threats against Iran since they have cracked down on the protesters on the ground too. So I think that we're going to see the White House and President Trump being very bullish in these talks too.
We also have tripartite talks, the second day of tripartite talks going on in Abu Dhabi with Ukraine, Russia, and the US. What should we expect out of those talks? And are there any places to avoid to?
Yeah, this has been a strong frustration point for the White House. I would say I know that Carolyn Levitt this week said that the president has been using diplomatic threats and not surprised by Russia's actions against Ukraine. I think that we are going to do more in terms of the concerns about crypto arms deal with the exploration of a critical.
If we name the prison there, that is Nika Sanger in Washington DC, and we're also of the Bloomberg Government. Turning to tech, sell-off in tech stalling now as shares of Alphabet fall in the pre-market after outlining ambitious capital spending plans, including AI customers.
Revenue from AI solutions led by our partners increased nearly 300% year over year, and commitments from our top 15 software partners grew more than 16x year over year.
Bloomberg Intelligence. So, Matt, I mean, it's a one-day move in the shares. We shouldn't read too much into it, but is that a problem with Google having a $185 billion capex spending plan?
There is a threat revenue doesn't seem to keep growing at a kind of rapid rate. I think that's the big question people have is what is the return on investors for investment going to be and how quickly is it going to be coming through? I mean, they're kind of, I think, personally, I think they're doing the right thing because we've seen recently Meta plan to double their capital spending in 2026. There is still very much a landscape going out there for data center capacity, power, chips, and if you're not in that game, then you're kind of for one thing. Our local service severely impeded, so they have to spend, they have to match the big rivals, and they have to figure out ways to kind of make that investment pay off. Actually, when you look at the operation results of Google, they're doing a pretty good job looking into the core parts of their business, which is essentially their ads business, which is 75 or 8% of revenue, and doing faster than expected. That's been an area that looks really good. People worried was going to be really good part of AI revolution. They're doing a great job in integration of GenAI products, institutional search, and keeping that ad machine going. And also the other bit of their business is really important is cloud. That also keeps expectations. And so they're delivering on the operational side. They just need to keep that momentum going, make people feel confident that big investment is going to pay off.
Actually, it's all up 70% year-over-year, so we should have that contact there as well. But what about Adam, it's nice to say here that, this money change is accelerated. Why did the two companies take off that investment?
Yeah, essentially we've been talking for a few minutes now about how the memory shortage is impacting supply, particularly for smartphones, and also pushing those costs up. And when you look at the overall smartphone market, that means outlook for sales is falling and it's not possible towards the high end. And that's also an incredibly important market, particularly for Qualcomm, who also are effectively delivering fairly muted outlets, and certainly for the fourth quarter, we missed expectations on them by as much as 9%. So the slowdown in smartphone shipments is becoming a reality, and that's probably going to impact both of these companies' momentum in 2026.
Well, Amazon reported after that it's going to be a big one. What's going to be watching out format? Where can it surprise us?
Yeah, it's a good business. I think the big focus is really going to be down on that cloud business and the extent to which they're continuing to see strong momentum in that business and how much of it is pivoting towards AI cloud revenue. The other area that's grabbing more attention is their ads business, which is turning into huge businesses. So my first kind of line that both Meta and Alphabet, I think they're doing a really focus on that part of the business too.
Right, Matt Jackson, private equity firms take it out, blew out early TPG over reporting before the opening Wednesday as it forced their very court in the sanctioned routes. Where some reports are also going on that even user borders were still seen. So, Crystal, give us just a broad picture. What are we expecting generally from the equity firms reporting?
Yeah, Bonnie, so we have quite a few topic capital trends reporting before the doctor, like you said, taking out the PPG, and obviously the key message that everything always looks for are fees growth, margins, and AUM growth. The one thing however is clear is that they have all been so kind of key ATIC, best passes and kind of stock price, Blue Owl in particular, stocks been down 50% in the past year, and the rest of the S&P is up like 12%, 14% in the same period. It hasn't really done so well, and that is largely attributed to tech sell-off, given how many of these big tech LBOs that these funds have funded in the 2021-2022 era.
Yeah, it's for sure that we're going to hear a lot of questions on the conference calls about that. What could be the potential impact of this week's AI dual rise here?
Yeah, so actually our colleague in New York, Olivia Official and Laura Manning wrote about this phenomenon. They call it SaaS apocalypse. Basically, a lot of these software SaaS companies are going to be impacted by AI. And when those deals were done, when those LBOs were done, very little impact of AI was being talked about.
And these private capital funds have been a great role in fundraising takeovers. So really close interaction with management and insurance and industry, that's kind of how we are, like impact plus
I got married to this song. Oh shit. Good times, good times. That's my baby mama right there.
Yeah, I mean, when you get a picture after the that's true. So they all focus on kind of different things. For instance, we're all a little bit more they actually put out states in various
I have like 8 kids
that
with
have
me.
private equity, but all of them actually operate in the strategy where they do private credit, they have more real estate. So it's going to be a very complex earnings result. So take us some time to look through it. All right. Well, we'll see if that SaaSpocalypse phrase continues to hold water after today's conference calls. Crystal C, thank you so much. That is Bloomberg's Crystal C over here today. We'll get you set up for your trading day with more earnings and central bank decisions. This is Bloomberg.
Baby, I've got to know how you feel.
This is Bloomberg Brief. I'm Molly Quinn in New York. Now look at what's ahead today. So we have the Bank of England rate decision. That's at 7 a.m. New York time, along with the news conference, of course, from Governor Bailey. Plus the ECB rate decision. That's at 8:15 a.m. Eastern. President Lagarde's news conference at 8:45 a.m. And the big one, we have Amazon earnings out after the market close. Plenty of earnings throughout the day, though, including the private equity companies before the market opened. Let's take a look at your macro setup for this Thursday trading day. So we had 2 days of a return to form, if you like, for the precious metals. They were higher in the last 2 days, having sold off. Well, that sell-off has resumed once again, and silver has given up the 2 days of gains that it fought so hard to have in the last 2 days. Still at 78.57, which is still elevated relative to recent times, but that volatility in silver is really elevated. In fact, it's very close to a record. Gold as well, down 1.8%. Wouldn't necessarily call it a slide, but it's definitely giving back some of those 2 days of gains that we saw. Still close to $4,900 an ounce, though. The Bloomberg Dollar Index up about 0.1%, back-to-back days of gains, but it's generally weaker. You heard Pete Jukes earlier saying, look, when it's going to be a risk-off environment, when the market is a little nervous, you will see days of gains like this. Of course, with Japan elections at the weekend, that yen is very much weaker. Of course, the euro trading in a range today as well. Now, let's take a look at futures. They are pointed, well, they have erased those gains now. It seems like
What?
I was listening to Princess, and I was got and they would get them on the street level in bulk. Hey, I didn't know it was less than 40 pills. What? I was killing myself slowly but sure. I thank God every day that I experienced that at the time that I did, because that was before fentanyl. What fentanyl is out here doing and how undetectable it is, the pillhead that I would kill myself. I've been dead. You know that?
All my life, grinding all my life.
Sacrifice, hustle, pay the price.
One slice, I'm the gold dice. That's why all
All my life. All my life. All my life. I've been twice. Dice. All my life. What's side?
Hello, welcome to another episode of Club Shay Shay on the Road. I am your host, Shannon Sharp. The guy that's talking about the conversation on the phone today is one of the most trusted, influential leading voices in hip-hop media with a loyal fan base of millions. He's one of the few hip-hop artists to transition successfully in the digital media space without compromising his voice. He's built a thriving independent media empire, a podcast powerhouse and trailblazer, a media titan, industry veteran, a cultural critic, a revolutionary hip-hop commentator, Grammy-nominated rapper, and savage business owner, multifaceted entrepreneur, polarizing creator, unfiltered entertainer, unapologetic commentator, electrifying host, captivating personality, successful broadcaster, and admired artist, a media mogul, the Podfather, Joe Budden.
All right, Joe, they gave you your flowers, kid.
You remember we were just talking about I ain't been in the business that long. I said, well, okay, I
Joe,
gave you a couple extra years, but you better be like, started playing it back in the day. Right, no, right.
And then as I'm listening to your introduction, I'm like, man, it has been a long travel road.
Man, listen here. You do what you did. That looks like stuff. That shape out of 48. You know what?
Coño. Traguitos.
Here we go. My bad. Boy, you shook up the internet when you accidentally, I don't know if you accidentally or intentionally, you was trying to show, look, I'm doing this thing my way, and you actually did reach that you make X amount of $100,000 million a month. What were you hoping to do in the process of doing that? Did you want to show that, look, you can do it on your own? Or what was the purpose of you doing what you did on?
Well, the message is always that you can do it on your own. There's no people going to hear that. In that moment, I was just tracking the growth. Yes, I was sitting there just like I said, it's been a really long travel.
Right.
So I think it was the impressions is what I was trying to do.
Yeah.
It was somewhere else.
You forgot to block the other part out.
No, you know what? We blocked it. But we old dinosaurs.
Okay,
They
now we tackle this right here.
And I got a lot of
The Akuma, I'll be right back.
God is in charge. So ultimately, a lot of good care.
While I do this,
and again, we share information.
just get in the house. You roll with me.
Listen to this. What made you decide to go to Patreon? Because there are a lot. I mean, you're on YouTube audio. You got Apple. You got your platform is vast, and so you got a lot of different people can consume the Joe Budden podcast on a lot of different platforms. Why was it so important for you to go that route?
At the time, that was we had a high belief in ourselves and what we had accomplished at Spotify previously.
Okay.
And we had a lot of data that told the story. So at the end of the term, you can listen to all the offers in the field, which we did. We listened to everybody. But ultimately, where would I be the happiest? One, where could I be paid? Where could I celebrate in the growth of my own show without having to ask anybody? I mean, that's always just the most important.
Did you feel like if you had taken one of these deals, they would go, like, then they feel like they can, what Joe Budden can talk about, how Joe Budden can move the show, the growth of the show, because you move as you want to, because you are the sole proprietor, you're the sole owner of the show. So if you want to add somebody under your umbrella, I can do that without having to ask for permission.
Well, you know what, Joe, anybody we partnered with, they never really tampered with creative.
Yes.
Isn't that right? But when you're just learning, right? And at every turn, what I was learning about how podcasters would be paid and how advertising worked and CPMs and all of this other shit, I never jived with any of it.
Right.
I never jived with any of that. And I was able to, because my show was so large, kind of have my own say in things. So at Complex, it was complex negotiating the advertising deals with their sales teams, and whatever the tiny bump was in my contract is as much as I could participate, even though the ad was contingent upon my participation.
Correct.
Big problem.
Yeah.
Big problem.
Because you doing all the work. You doing all the ad reads. People want to hear Joe Budden. They want to hear your voice. It's not the same as them just implanting in there. They want to hear Joe read that.
And that's the part that often gets like twisted up when I say that. This is only applicable if your replacement list is like short, because they can always replace you.
Correct.
They can always replace you. Yeah, I mean, it's my job to make it damn hard for them to do that.
Right.
At Spotify, it was more the same with the advertisements for us. We were getting bunched in with whatever, thousands of shows.
Right.
Well, we were one of the first, one of two. And then we got bunched in with all these thousands of shows that y'all shopped and came back and spread out the. That doesn't jive. I don't jive. Right. I don't jive with that.
You're the most popular.
I don't jive with that.
You're the most popular. You're the biggest. But you want us, these other mini shows, yeah, you give us a tiny bump, but it's like, this is not market. I want to be market. I want to be a free agent. Because free agency is, I can get what the market bears and not just bunched in because I'm under this umbrella.
Well, and now you're taking it to the next point, which is you go kick ass at whatever the place is, you name it. And then at the end of the term, we have to negotiate the value of it.
Yes.
And a lot of times y'all are in charge of dictating what that looks like on your consumer face. I don't jive with that. I never jive with that. So Patreon for us was the best because we were able to get equity, we were able to participate in the growth of this partnership, and was able to just put it in the hands of me and my fans, which has always been the case with me.
Right.
I always want to do that.
Were you one of the first to go be on Patreon?
No, not on Patreon. On Patreon, I wasn't one of the first. Patreon's been around for a while. Before the time my Spotify deal, Patreon was around.
Okay. But you didn't really know anything about it because the podcast, man, I've only been in it for like 5 years, Joe. And so I remember CJ, who's my producer, he was at Fox because I got into this because Fox wrote it into my deal. And so even though I had it in my deal, we weren't doing anything. COVID happened. There's like, well, we would like to, because we got it in your deal, we'd like you to do a podcast. So I'm asking, I'm like, what am I going to do? What am I going to talk about? It's like, and CJ was like, well, call the most famous people in your phone and ask if they were really willing to come on the show. Now, at that time, there was no in-person, so we had to do everything virtually. Hell, I had Floyd Mayweather, had Snoop Dogg, had Ice Cube, had Rick Ross, had this one and that one. And so that's how I started. But I was like, this ain't nothing. He said, no, there's money in it. I said, well, they ain't tell me nothing about no money. They just say I need to do this because it was written in my contract. And so, but I did go back. I said, look, I ain't say CJ because CJ was an employee of Fox, so I didn't want to get him in trouble. I said, but I think there's money in this. The only person I knew that was getting money in podcasting was Joe Rogan at the time because he was so big. But I was like, Joe Rogan. So what's the money? And then once you start doing it and you start doing a lot of things on your own, you start seeing like, hold on. There's the YouTube, and then you get the programmatic for the ad that they play. Then you can place ads yourself. I was like, there really is money in this.
So it's a whole other world. It's a whole other world.
But as you said, that was not something they were going to tell me.
Hell no. Hell no. They wouldn't tell you that. No way.
But you said they gave you an equity stake. So is that what you look for when you look to do any partnership? Are you looking for an equity stake, or are you just looking to take the money up front?
I'm never looking to just take the money up front.
Okay.
We have advanced conversations in the background. I'm not saying that no deal can get done without we having equity, but I asked for it today, right? Because the podcast and the podcast community is its own economy. And I've seen the effect of what a partnership does. Even when we were at Spotify before they went public, we understood what they were trying to do at the time. To funnel money away from the music business. And podcasting played a really pivotal role. That's why I never want to undersell it because it is low budget or the word podcast.
And somebody has developed a negative connotation, Joe. Why is that?
And you know what? And I listen, when I started, it was a negative connotation.
Yes.
They kicked my ass for it. But it does, today, it's stigmatized. They do tend to hear that word and kind of just compartmentalize it, put it in its own space.
Because a lot of the big, like A-list celebs, they look at podcasts like, That ain't no real TV show. But if you look at Netflix is starting to get involved in podcasting. You saw Amazon get involved in podcasting. You see these big conglomerates. Listen, if it wasn't what is growing, they ain't wasting no time with.
Long before Netflix, some of the shows that would pop up on these streaming apps, television shows, would be modeled or based around a podcast.
Right.
I can't tell you how many times on Hulu they would say inspired by this podcast or would start with a podcaster. So it was broad, and television shows would even make mention of things that they would hear on the podcast. Right. But you're right, how it's looked at and what people get when they hear that word, it's because nobody really knows how anybody's getting paid from it.
Right.
I think that has a large part to do with it too. All you have here, I mean, today you hear all of these numbers. So people know that there's a way to get paid.
Correct.
But they can't figure out how.
They don't really know how to get started. And then a lot of people just think, well, Joe Budden making 20 million. I should make at least 15. They don't understand. You didn't start out making 20 million. There is a gradual process, but everybody wants to skip the process. Now, Joe, everybody just wants to go straight to being a CEO. Don't nobody want to clean. Don't nobody want to work the desk job. Nobody wants to work the mail room. And it's like, man, all you do is work. And so when they come, I'm sure you've heard it. They come to you, man, got this idea of want a podcast. I say, so how often you want to do it? Well, I just want to shoot like 10, 12 episodes a year. What?
Yeah.
And so you think that's going to work? You want 10 to 12 episodes a year, but you want how much?
That part. How much money do you want for those 10 episodes?
I'm like, bro.
That's why I don't even know how to give advice anymore because, and I do it week to week, different podcasts, and we have to talk. But sometimes those talks are a brother on episode 8 saying, well, where's the money at? How do I get paid? And I'm like, it may be a path for that, but that wasn't my way. No, I did this for years for free. A lot of that, I did this when a lot of the thoughts and ideas we had were way ahead of the technology, and then we had to just wait for everybody to catch up. We had to wait for the ad agency to catch up. So I don't know how to get paid by episode 8. I don't.
Right. There is no money in episode 8. And if now, there's a pathway, everybody's getting in it, so it's becoming a very saturated market now. So you got to be really, really good. Like, look, if you're a big name, if Denzel and Sam Jackson started a podcast, people
I'm looking like I'm myself. Okay.
Now
we're cooking with grease.
Then, how can you keep it?
Okay.
Because that's the hard part.
I reloaded.
People listen. Man, Joe,
you motherfuckers think you big time?
Can you get them to come back?
Fucking with Jay-Z. You're gonna die big time. Here come the pain.
Start a podcast or make a new podcast announcement. Or go with the bad and never make an episode.
No.
Boom.
Another one. I've seen them get fired. I've seen they're not. To be a podcast is still to be a podcast. Like you can count on the Joe Budden podcast to drop twice a week every 2 weeks out the year. Right. I'm gonna be here.
Right.
Some of them you're not committed to it. Y'all are playing the headline game. You're playing the stock game. You had no intention of doing it.
Especially when COVID came out, Joe.
Oh my Lord.
Because there was really nothing. The studios couldn't shoot, but we got to get something out. Hey, Joe, we got this big one. Okay, yeah. I thought Joe had a podcast. I thought Joe was going to drop this such and such. Mm-hmm. They took the money and ran. And then, bro, it's a grind. And people don't realize how hard you got to work and what goes into it, Joe. People really just think you and your group, y'all just show up and just shoot. No, you got a rundown. We got a direction in which we want to go. We got to get in and out. We got to direct traffic. Yeah. It's not that simple. When people don't see how the food is made, they think it's easy to cook. But if you watch your grandmother or your aunt or your mom cook, you realize that plate ain't just getting on the table in 20 minutes.
She's been prepping this.
Yes.
She's been prepping this.
All night.
Yeah, right.
And then you really took it to a next level. You're like, you know what? I'm going to have my own ad team. I'm not going to rely on some of the others that have advertisers that they come to you, and by the time it gets to you, you getting 60%, as opposed to like, you know what, I have my own ad team and I'll get the whole 100% and they give them a percentage of how you do it. What made you decide to go that route?
Honestly,
Genius.
The outlook
Level.
ads started
Frequency.
just like how I listened to podcasts.
Okay.
Facts.
How I was as a rapper, I used to hate promo. I used to absolutely hate promotion. I'm not gonna lie to you. Even when the album was coming out, I wouldn't promote it. And when I would listen to podcasts and the ad would pop up, I didn't necessarily enjoy that.
Right.
I didn't like that. I didn't want to interrupt the flow of the conversation, which I thought was extremely important at the time. So yeah, so for this check, and I tried at first, and I'm talking this is around 2015, 2016. Damn. 2015, 2016. I tried to pick up get shit, and nobody knew where money was coming from the podcast. So if this ad came for whatever the money was, it was short. But the thing it was, if you pack in a bunch of those, you can see how you make some money. I did that. I put them all up. Whatever the read was, I went totally off script, laughed at them, told them to call me instead. I think it was TalkSpace or somebody. It was a mess. But from there, again, how I moved was because the audience was so large and it was growing year over year. So I mean, it was cheaper to just hold around and add yourself to that person's nurturing relationship with a brand that you understood, that understood you. And again, maybe this is trauma from Black people and how I view the word shock jock, right? Because you participate in all the success, but anytime something happens off script, you're so quick to toss us to the side, all types of words in these contracts. I didn't have a job with that.
Right? Very careful.
I didn't have a job with that.
I'm very good with this.
No, I forgot what that was.
And no, but you were saying that why you decided to like do your own. You have
back to the ad. So yeah, we were blessed enough to have some really good partnerships with some people for years and years and years, and coach profit for both sides, and you meet good people, and you do this thing. You start to do it, and you start to reap the benefits of the independent company that's out here putting in the work versus the ads team, the sales team, and then that's always the thing too. It's whatever your beef is with whoever you partnered with, at some point they're gonna put it on the sales team if you start having the right conversation. We're like, all right, let me come talk to the sales team.
Right.
Let's have a conversation. Let me get on the phone with some of these people.
Right.
And yeah, but edgy content.
The big game is almost here, and there's no better way to cash in during America's biggest sporting event than Prize Picks, where it always feels good to be right. And since the big game is right around the corner, that also means it's your last chance to get on the football action before the season ends. So close the season out right with Prize Picks by getting $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5. The playoffs have been electric. Drake May all damn day, going all the way. I got my eyes on May today for the big game. More passing touchdowns, more receiving yards, more. New feature alert. Prize Picks now has early payouts. If your lineup gets off to a hot start, you may now have the option to cash out those winnings before the game even finishes. Find your community on Prize Picks with new social feeds feature. You can share Prize Picks with your friends and copy lineups from winners with a single click. Copy lineups like you use for inspiration for your own picks. You can also follow Prize Picks partners like us who fade our picks with just one click. Prize Picks is simple to play. Just download the Prize Picks app. Use code Shannon to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code Shannon to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Feel good to be right. The thing was, I didn't really understand because as a consumer, I was like, man, and as soon as it get good, here come an ad. Damn, TV. I just want to let's keep it going because it's really good. And then you understood, well, that's how they make money.
Yeah.
And they were like, man, you running all these ads. I say, so how do you think a graphics team and a producer and an editor in social media, how do you think I pay these people? That's how it gets paid. These cameras cost money.
Everything costs money.
It does.
Everything.
If people don't understand, I say this talent costs money. People don't work for free.
Your TikTok edit is going to cost money. Your Snapchat edit is going to cost money. Any new camera, any new lens, any picture that you see, the thumbnail, yes, everything.
And I don't know how much you guys travel and get on the road, Joe.
Oh, and there's that. But I mean, I try not to because it gets expensive. But then there's that.
And that's, and like you said, I mean, for us, is that what we try to do. If we have to be somewhere, we try to kill two birds with one stone. Well, let's see, since we got to be somewhere for Nightcap, well, let's see if we can do something for Club Shake Shake. Well, if I got to do something for Club Shake Shake, let's see if we can get somebody for Nightcap. That's the way you try to work it, to try to cut down on some of the costs. But I don't think people understand that to make
giving a lot of valuable insight.
It costs money.
You got damn right. You gotta be willing. You gotta believe in yourself. You
got to
have to invest in yourself.
Easy. Better long me, baby.
Since the Joe Budden is like taking off and going into another stratosphere, have you been able to treat yourself? I mean, maybe a new whip, bigger house out in Jersey. I know you like watches.
That's watches like that.
I can't tell.
Yeah, exactly. I see it now. Not recently, no. Yeah. Not recently. I did that a few years ago.
Yeah.
And then I bought the Ferrari and then bought the whatever. Yeah, it was next. I did that. I had a year of cars. I don't drive. Right. I got my chauffeur, and she was like,
"You gotta drive. You got somebody to drive." So like, why am I buying these cars to sit up in the garage?
I mean, and I love my cars. I love my truck. But I did it. Felt good. I'm off now.
Over and done with that
process of maybe building my home, my
dream home.
Yeah, I'm in the process of that. That's exciting. Got a headache, but exciting.
Yeah. It's funny how you Spotify say, Joe, we got $2 million for you. Do your podcast over here, $2 million. You're like, oh. And I think you stayed with Spotify for like a year.
2 years.
2 years.
2 years. Didn't ask back. And it's not that they would have given it to me. It's not that they would have given it. Yeah. That's not my concern. You gotta ask. You gotta ask.
All you gotta do is say no.
Let them say no. Let them say no.
Because you hear these stories of Beyonce performing for Uber. She like, they were going to give her money. She's like, nah, can I have that? She said, okay. And then boom. Nas, same thing.
Yeah.
I'm like, damn, when the deal's going to happen to me?
That should be happening for you.
But that's the biggest thing though, is that early on, we didn't know what we didn't know. Now we know, we can ask. And all they can do is say, nah, we're just, I was like, okay. Like you said, I ain't turning down no big check, but I got to at least ask to take a little smaller burden if I can get a cut of the equity and the growth of the company. Because we both believe. You believe in me, I believe in you. Let's participate, let's grow together.
Yeah, and at some point, if you do it enough time, we passed proof of concept stage. I'm done convincing people what's going to happen. Like, I've seen what happens too many times when you pair this podcast with this company. I know what's going to happen. So, no, if you don't understand what's going to happen, if you're not willing to pay for what's going to happen, then you can't participate in what's going to happen. It's the same way the other way around.
When did you realize you were underpaid? How did you realize you were underpaid? And you decided to even go young?
And you know what? And I'm going to say complex, but money was never the driving force, which is how we all end up underpaid. We're going to be doing it for the love and the love.
Yes.
It was that complex. Again, I was inquisitive. I asked a lot of questions. I'm always early. I'm always punctual. I'm going to open the building. I'm going to be the last one here on the show.
Right.
I'm going to talk to the camera people. I'm going to talk to the corner suite. Like, I'm going to have the information to be able to best make the next decision. And that's how I ended up learning about what went on with the ads and how they were being sold and how they were being funneled to me. And I just believed that I should participate differently once I heard that. I had no idea of the money that was flying around because we're not supposed to have learned the money that's flying around. But once I heard it, it was over. And I'm like, well, what happens if I don't wear this, whatever the sneaker was at the time? And they were pulling out big money. Yeah. Oh, no. I don't jive with that. I don't jive with that. And from there, everything was education after that. From there, everything was education and learning what people are paying, learning what they're paying for, how they value it, how they're benefiting from it. Like you just said, it's education. You got to learn.
But Joe, at the time, you turned down, allegedly, a big deal from Spotify, over $40 million. That's a lot of money. That is not enough for 40. It was substantial amount. Probably more than you ever had. Yeah, you're like, and to walk away from that, Joe, and to believe in yourself, to say, you know what? And somebody, who's not here say, well, Master P. Master P said, well, they offered me $1 million. Well, if they offered me $1 million, I must be worth about 50 to 100.
But yeah, on the salon job.
Yeah. So, is that how you were thinking? If they're offering me this substantial amount of money, I've got to be worth a little bit more, because they ain't looking to break even. They're looking to turn a profit. So if they'll give you that kind of money, what kind of profit are they expecting to turn?
Well, at Spotify, again, craving information. The 2 years I was there, we did a lot of asking for advanced analytics, a different kind of dashboard, different codes to be able to track things that were specific to
your show, like Slash Joe Blaze.
We got this data for 2 years. Okay. At the end of that road, you can take this 30 million or whatever the number was, or you can trust them what the data is saying.
I just washed my hands. I apologize. Just one more. Please have a seat.
If that says that for the last 2 years,
And we'll put the battle armor on, okay? Welcome to the shop.
By the grace of God, it worked out, man. It worked out, but a lot of tough decision making, a lot of sleepless nights.
Very good episode.
A lot of turmoil,
and Joe Budden from yesterday.
a lot of
There's a lot of insights. You know, I'm an artist as well, so
a lot of mistakes.
it's good to hear about the advertising side of things.
When you see,
I do Spanish and English music, so I'm stuck between both industries. And I got to kind of pull a little bit from each side. Right? Welcome to the shop. Good morning. How may we help you?
So I'm thinking about being a victor someday.
Take your time. I'm retired.
So I'm like,
oh yeah, I got you. That's my stuff. All right, yeah, for sure. That's one of my favorite hits.
yeah, I'm trying to do something.
All right, tonight. So just enough to where it occurs and then blow it out. I got you. Let me rest your shades here.
Yeah.
Once we finish, I'll give them back. Give me 1 quick second. Let me just move this so that I am not. Oh, I just realized it wasn't showing me this. Technology. We'll set them right here, okay? And as you know, I'm gonna have the music full blast. As you can see, it was playing by itself. If you need me, raise your hand. I can hear you, but very low. Welcome to the shop.
That's cool, but
so blow out down to the skin.
If they came to you and offered you something like that, would you be willing to turn over?
And I can line up the front and everything, right?
I'll do.
Would you like for us to trim your eyebrows today?
This amount of money.
No.
Y'all
Keep the whole take everything else off.
Y'all gonna give me X.
Gotcha. Do you want me to clean up on the outside of the eyebrow?
Let's just say a Spotify, one of these big conglomerates.
No worries.
Right now, Netflix, Amazon is still.
I'm gonna rotate you.
Big ones did.
There's a mirror to your left, one behind you. If I have to rotate you, it's going to sound better because the sound bar is under the television. You know, this entire shop is a studio, a recording studio. We do video, film, all kinds of stuff. So, welcome to the shop. We're going to pick it out, okay? It's going to feel a little bit sensitive. I apologize.
I can come to Joe, say, Joe, we got a 5-year, $20 million deal. We just want to take over everything.
Not where I'm at right now. I'm 45. Like, I still feel spry. I still feel like I don't feel like the aging artist that used to go sell his catalog.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
And I'm building catalog.
Yeah.
I'm building catalog. Well, and I know what I make right now. So
they have the double that up.
and we'll talk to anybody. I mean, don't get me wrong. We'll talk to anybody, and probably are talking to most of them.
Right.
But the deal would have to be boutique.
Are you looking to scale? Are you looking to have more of instead, like say like Netflix? They're getting podcasting, trying to develop their podcast division. Or you look at some of these other Amazon was trying to develop their podcast division. Is that what you're trying to do with Joe Budden? Are you trying to develop a podcast division where you have, obviously somebody maybe hip hop and then somebody in motivation and somebody in fitness and somebody in, relationship? Are you trying? Is that the direction that you're trying to go in?
Maybe. Right now I'm focused on getting as many eyes as possible on the Joe Budden podcast and our exclusive content that we drop on Patreon. And from that, we have other shows. We have Podwise, which is a huge success. We got the Internet Mark show. I want to be nimble enough, Shannon, to always be able to go do a show.
Right.
Whether that be a finance show, a sports show.
Yes.
I want to be nimble enough and have the staff in place to any idea that we think of, we can go execute, whether it be a doc, whether it be a comedy, whatever it is. So I always want to do that. Right this second, no. There's too much fun stuff happening out here with all these platforms for me to be there right now.
After watching a close friend go through a loss a few years back, I saw how quickly grief can turn to financial stress. No one deserved that feeling I saw them feel, and I mean no one. No matter what I offered to help, it wasn't enough. I promised my family I would never make them feel the same way my buddy felt. Trust me, that experience of watching a close friend go through financial stress while grieving changed how I think about protecting my family. Life insurance isn't about expecting the worst, but it's about making sure the people that you love are supported no matter what. That's why we at Club Shay Shay recommend life insurance through Ethos. Ethos makes life insurance fast and easy, 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and the same day coverage. How much easier can protecting your loved ones get? There's no medical exam. You just answer a few simple health questions. Protect your family with life insurance from Ethos now by going to ethos.com/Shay Shay. In as little as 10 minutes, you can get a free quote and up to $3 million in coverage at ethos.com/Shay Shay. That's ethos.com/Shay Shay. Again, that's ethos.com/Shay Shay. Application time and rates may vary. In the process of scaling, if you scale, are you saying, okay, I have the Joe Budden podcast, but I don't need to be a part of everything that's going on in the Joe Budden universe?
Yes. Yeah, definitely. And hopefully.
Yes.
And hopefully.
Well, like you said, you like, man, I'm young, I'm spry, and listen that you talk, and I see how you're like, man, I'm just 45. You get excited to get up out of bed and go do what you do every day. And that's the kind of motivation that you got to have to be successful.
I'm living an absolute dream. I make no mistake about it. I get to wake up, live, eat, dream, and shit music as a music lover, right? Like I want to hear my favorite song enough to be good if I never hear it again, and that type of guy. Like I really love this. I'm talking to my friends every day. I'm talking to somebody whose road wasn't the school and more schooling and then work and then my story. I don't trade from none of that. So from my start to where I am, why would you not do more?
Right. Yeah, one crow behind your ear perfectly. I was like, yo, I'm chasing Sonic right now. What the he's sorry about that. Just to tell you, I love Sonic.
That's awesome. But just without that, how could you not want to do? What's the alternative?
Because I think the thing is for you, Joe, and kind of myself, is that we found something that we really love doing. How many people out there really enjoy going to their job?
Well, today, I think that number should be projected to change if you look at the next 10 years.
Okay.
But today, but I encourage everybody out there to find something that they're passionate about.
Right.
Like even if you go into work every day, still when you get off work, do something that you're passionate about, right? For that to ignite that other shit that's in you.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, how many times you done heard something, man, I hate this job. Joe people having a shift over. It's hard to do that for 20, 30. And a lot of people do that, Joe. We found something. Look, I was a professional athlete. I enjoyed it. You was in the rap game. You enjoyed it. And everybody doesn't get to transition. Everybody doesn't get to have something they enjoy doing. And then find something else they enjoy doing just as much, if not more.
Not more. Yeah.
You and I have been very, very blessed. A whole lot of people aren't blessed like that, Joe.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, don't try to trick me into saying some shit.
no, but they're not. But
it's true. It's true.
Go ahead.
As much as eggs cost, to have a job.
We're here a couple of years of myself.
No, honestly. And if you're living in New York is expensive. New York, New Jersey, it is criminal what's going on out here.
I just left California after 8 years. You ain't got to tell people.
Man, oh my Lord. So if you can feed yourself and shelter yourself, you're blessed. If you're healthy, then you're blessed. We're blessed in a different way.
Yeah.
In a different way. But that's not the norm.
No.
That's not the norm. And I'm not even gonna sit here and pitch it like it is.
For the longest time, YouTube was the only really space that podcasts lived. They're still big with the ads, but you see Netflix coming in, they got boatloads of money. Should YouTube be worried?
If you asking me. Yeah.
Because YouTube wants to be a network, Netflix wants to be a network, but Joe, you know this. In order for you to be considered a network, you have to have live sporting events. And what have YouTube done? They got the NFL. What has Netflix done? Got the NFL. Amazon, what do they do? Get NFL and basketball. So if you want to be taken serious,
Paramount got you. Let's see. Right. So
at WWE, you see where they're going with this?
You know, they're playing big boy games.
Yeah.
Up there with big boy dollars, for sure. And YouTube has always operated as the lone whale in the sea.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody was there already because that's where the eyes were. And that was back since way back. So now, right, you have somebody over here should have seen so many stars. They should have seen the kids doing baby music. They should have seen the lo-fi music channel guy. They should have saw it was before there was no Tubi. They should have saw the small independent movie guys, the director guys, the podcasters. You had them all. So now we're in 2026. Eventually somebody else in the sea had a dick.
Yeah.
Somebody else had a wallet, and now they see what you want. They may see more than you see. Then we have to find out about that. But if somebody else with a checkbook that's coming to pull your biggest, and not just they're coming to pull from everybody can approach. Yeah. Right? That was Barstool, that was Volume, that was iHeart, and wherever they pulled from. If I were YouTube, I would be concerned about what that meant for, again, not today, but everything is projection for 10 years, 5 to 10 years from now.
Right.
What does that mean? My little sister right now is 12 years old. In the next 5 to 10, you're talking about 17, 22 years old. How is she going to be consuming things? How is that age group going to digest? Where are they going to go? So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But if I were YouTube, I'd be having to think about it.
Wow. Good friend of yours, you guys go back and forth. Charlemagne,
my man,
$200 million to do his Black Panther, his podcast. Congratulations, Charlemagne, on that. When you heard the news, like there was a Joe Budden, there was somebody at the Joe Budden that kind of looked like us, Charlemagne. I mean, a Joe.
Be very careful with your eyes. We're going to be using a light, okay?
Congratulations, that's cool.
You know I'm a laser engineer, so trust me. Careful with your eyes, okay? But it's enough with her.
If you wanted to,
Air Force, Space Force, yeah, Joe forever. But I'm retired now.
That's a black man.
I just watch kids and be a grandfather. You know what I'm saying? That's my special power right there.
Found a way to bump
I'm my grandkids, I'm a superhero. That's a superpower, grandpa.
To end up with that type of right. So there is
nobody can barbecue better than you.
That's
Give me a PlayStation, I'm turning it off.
Were you originally cast to be a member of the Bird?
No. Where'd you get that? Who you spoke to?
I just asked it.
I was so happy to be coming here mess free.
Yeah.
Because I don't have current mess. Well, who told you that? Where'd you get that from?
I mean, look.
That was a good one. No, I was never.
I don't know. I mean, you got.
My name was in a hat. My name was in the hat at inception.
Mm-hmm.
When they were tossing some ideas around, when they really didn't have a title yet. I went to one dinner with somebody concerning that, but I was never in further talks about it. That was a good one.
We do our research.
Somebody over there.
We do our research. The Complex Show, Everyday Struggle. How did that show change your life?
It changed everything. It changed everything about my life. Everything about my life. It was college. It was going to college for me. I've never gone. So to wake up at 6 a.m, head into the city of New Jersey, and just kick it with people. Just kick it with people. And again, all the learning that happened for me, all the education I got from the Complex. It was that time was everything. It was the education, we had fun. I think we changed the landscape of media at that show. It was a huge rebranding tool for me, which was a large part of what I was doing it for.
Right.
I thought people might have had the wrong impression of me, and all good things came from it. All great things came from it.
Would you consider you guys were the first take of hip hop?
Yeah. First take copies of definitely inspiration, for sure. The debate style was hot. There was the conversation going on in hip hop about the OGs and the younger generation, and how we should be kind and treat each other and speak to each other. So all of that was hot at the time, and Complex knew what to do. They marketed it right. They put it in front of the right people. It took off. It changed everything.
Could that format work today?
Yeah. Today, so much is personality driven.
It is.
It's in our hands today. So you get the right personality. If you get the right personality, that ain't gonna work today. And there's so many people out there.
How much you make it? So they come to you and say, "Look, we got this idea." Because a lot of times, or an idea like, "Man, just for me to get on television, I'll take whatever." Because I remember when I was playing, Joe, my coach used to command me. You know what I love about Sharp? Sharp would play this game for free. And I would always say, but I'm going to need everybody else to play for free too. I ain't going to be the only one to play for free. If everybody playing for free, I'll play it for free. Mm-hmm. But you got me to pay them, and I play and I get paid, and I play for free. So when you look at it, it had to be a small amount. I mean, because it was a new show. You don't get Complex, I wasn't making no money. You weren't making no money? No, I wasn't making no money. No, I wasn't making no money on Complex. Hell no. I was making enough to keep you coming back, drive back into the city.
Money never moved me. Okay. That's never what I was doing anything for. With hip hop, right. I love this shit, and I wanted to be considered the best from people I thought was the best. Okay. And then I got a record deal and bumped my head all these times like, oh shit, it's a music business. Right. And again, more education. So no, I wasn't making no damn money on Complex. Hell no, not at all. Not at all. But that was the last time I was underpaid.
But was it a situation that once you found out that they were making money and they weren't paying you any money, is that when you went in and say, okay, well I want to make X, and they like, So why did you end up leaving the show?
Well, I finished my contract. My contract was 9 months.
Okay.
They weren't looking to renew it. I had a child on the way.
Okay.
And we weren't on the greatest of terms because of how I valued the show versus how they valued the show. And we tried a few times to come back to the table, but nothing really ever came from that. But and by then, that's when the deals became a lot more lucrative. It was that point on. Complex was a proving ground. That show was like a proving ground of sorts.
That was your proof of concept that Joe Budden can sail.
Oh yeah. We were out here.
when you do reality TV, obviously some conflict has to be a part of the show.
Well, on reality television,
yes.
On reality television, yes.
Don't run up your alley, huh?
Well, which time? I have many different reality TV experiences.
Yeah.
I have my first tenure on Love and Hip Hop when I had the stupid vests on and my barber was putting all the stupid shit in my face and I was high off Molly, so I couldn't even look at myself and say, hey, what the f are you doing? Right. And I did that for years. And sprinkling some X's. That was a mess.
Yeah.
And more importantly than that, the contract may not have been the greatest for all of these different reasons. So cool, but I think I had a couple therapy.
Yeah.
Stint.
Interesting. You like reality TV.
I'm a fan of reality, and if you're gonna tape it, then let's tape it. That mindset started for me because in rap, in the era that I was in hip hop, it was very braggadocious. It was very stand on couches with 20 girls in the cars and the jewelry. Rappers couldn't even really say they had a girlfriend. In that era.
Right.
I didn't have the label support to where that would ever be my story, and that's not who I was. I was an introverted kid who suffered with addiction issues. That was my story. So, yeah. I forgot what I was saying just that fast.
No, you said reality TV.
That was my mindset, right? Like, in 2006, I can cut a camera on and just show who I am for real, and my real life, and my real relationship, and my day-to-day travels. I guess some of what the streamers are doing now, and that worked.
Right.
That worked. Anytime I was authentic, it worked. So I try to always be authentic.
You can only be Joe.
I feel that I can be better than anybody else.
You had a viral encounter on the show with Lil Yachty, and I mean maybe that you guys rectified that situation because he ends up getting he try to follow the same path you rap, podcast, but
that's why we do it. We leave it to leave a trail.
Yeah,
we do it to leave a trail for the people coming behind us. That's a big part of it. Shout out to Yachty. We reconciled. We made up. That's my man. He did a podcast. I came through. I was supposed to go to the show when they were in New York, or he did a million shows in New York, and I missed them all. But no, shout out to Yachty. Real good podcast.
But you know what, Joe? A lot of times people think the biggest in one area will be the biggest in another area. And it doesn't work like that. Just because you sold, let's just say for the sake of argument, just because you sold 50 million albums, that doesn't mean you can get a podcast and it's going to take off like that. But people think it's like that. People think just because they're successful in one genre, they can be successful in another genre.
No. This thing comes with, like you already stated, so much work got to be done. It's a 24/7 kind of thing, 7 days a week. I mean, it demands so much. I started focusing on my health. Like, I got to be able to show up for myself.
Because you can't sleep, man. It's all consuming. It's really all consuming because all you think about, okay, who can I get? What are we going to talk about? Who do I need to talk to? What brands can I get? And let them know that this is what we're doing, this kind of direction. It is like, and you're right. Man, if you don't,
work out, eat right, less sugar, sleep, rest your mind.
It's just hard though, Joe. It's hard for me to turn my mind off. I know it's hard for you to turn your mind off.
Yeah, but I do a good job of going to bed when I need to go to bed. I do a good job of that. That's one of my favorite things about being in my 40s. Is the bed and how fast I can get there. Ooh, it's exciting.
Really?
It is so exciting. You shouldn't me? I'll be in the bed at 4:30 if you let me.
It's a blessing and a curse for you though. Because you've been in the industry, you've made a lot of friends. But sometimes you didn't make no friends, Joe?
Bang, with a whole bunch of
niggas. Well, let me spin it on. Even hearing it.
Hell no.
of times when you're in a particular business and you have to critique or talk about someone from said business, they expect favor. But Joe, you know what it's like, man. You've been in here before, so you probably shouldn't take that approach. Because you like me, you gonna say what's on your mind.
That's the thing. You got to be willing to
stand on it.
That was when I retired from rap, I wrestled with this because I'm about to talk about my peers, and for me, I'm like, okay, you know what? If I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it.
Right.
Like you can't half step. You cannot. You can't try to do one thing and you can't steal second base if you do foot on first. I say it all the time. So yeah, I dove all the way in, and you're gonna feel about it how you feel about it. For me, as long as I'm saying something that I can say to you, I'm attempting to be respectful. I'm not trying to I gotta do hard. I'm not trying to shit on the young out there. Right. I'm trying to just critique what you get, and I'll take what comes from that.
But a lot of times, Joe, anytime you're in any business, if they feel if you weren't at the top of the food chain, who are you to critique my career? You wasn't Jay-Z, you wasn't him, or you wasn't this one. That's how people feel. People feel like, well, I wasn't Tom Brady, so Shannon, why you comment? I'm like, well, damn, I can't have an opinion.
You got all the opinion.
Well, that's why they get mad. Because, see, here's the thing, Joe, with me, and this is what Coach Prime told me. He said the reason why it bothers them is that they can't punch holes in your resume because you was an All-Pro, you won Super Bowl, you went to Pro Bowl, and you got that gold jacket. I'm one of less than 400 men of 30,000 men that's played, coach, on team in the NFL. So with that, it stings a little bit. I'm trying to be as respectful as I can, but you're not playing well. You didn't play good. So I think I have an obligation to say that. When you play well, I have an obligation to say that. But people, they will disregard, and I don't know why the mind is wired like this, and I'm going to see what you have to say. You can be in an arena, Joe, and you can hear 70,000 fans screaming, Joe, Joe, Joe. But them 5 fans that boo, I don't know why they voice was louder than the 75,000 fans that cheer.
Yeah, I got time today for you 5. You 5. All this other shit is great. Hey, I agree with y'all. I'm awesome, so there's nothing for us to go back and forth about. But you other 5.
Yeah, I got something for y'all to ask today, though.
Yeah.
But why? So did you get the calls when you first started out?
I get them all the time.
You still get them from people?
Yes. Well, yeah. They call me all the time. I got a good feel now for who's calling, when they're calling, what topic gonna make them call, who's listening. Assume everybody's listening.
They are. If they're not somebody they know.
Yeah, assume everybody is listening. Yeah, or somebody that know them, or somebody in their family.
Then you heard what Joe said about you?
Oh yeah, it's getting back to everybody. The president's family. It's getting where it gotta go. So I try to keep that in mind while I'm talking, but I'm devoted to this shit, man.
You and Cardi had a few, but is it harder for you to have a disagreement with a woman that's in the business than a man?
You know what's funny? I try not to have disagreements with women.
Sometimes it's unavoidable.
What are we disagreeing about? Like music?
Yes.
Oh, I mean, then we're not doing the woman and man thing. Then we're just music. We're doing music and music lovers. Okay, but I don't think there's too much of a reason for me to be publicly disagreeing with a woman that don't even like that.
How it comes out, yeah. When you critique it, but sometimes it like, if you critique, let's just say for example, we take Cardi, you kind of going back and forth with Cardi about her some of her music.
No, I have not. No, I have not gone back and forth. I have given my opinion.
Right.
And she's going on her platform to give hers.
And she didn't like what you're saying, but
yeah. That's okay. That's okay.
Okay.
I'm not doing I'm going on my platform to respond to what you had to say from what I had to say. I don't like that.
So in other words, you have a critique. Somebody doesn't like your critique. They go on somebody else's platform or their own platform. They go on IG Live or whatever. That's
their right.
You done with?
Oh yeah. I was done after I finished saying what I was saying about it. I was done. Unless something drastic happened to call me back out to play, and that really is not going to happen with me and a female.
Right.
Most of the females have my support from day zero.
Right.
From them because they just been killing. So I'm not going to back and forth with a girl or a guy, that man.
Right.
Or a guy. Honestly, it's not even better. Or a guy.
Right. With a two
On the internet?
Yeah.
To now, today?
So sorry, buddy. If Cardi said if a woman rapper, I mean, there's only like a handful of the ones that mean, you got Glow, you got Meg, you got Nicki,
there's a bunch,
and you got Cardi. If they want to say, look, Joe, I want to have a conversation with you because I want to see why you said what you said and the context of where you was trying to go with it. You down to meet?
Always. Always. Man or woman.
Right.
Always down to meet or talk about something I say.
You like what we talking about? Before I go, what we talking about?
It's normally just how somebody feel about something I said, and I get that. People are human, people are sensitive.
Right.
Artists deal with a lot of shit. I understand. I was that. I try to carry myself a certain way because I was that, and I understand it. But sometimes we go too far. We talk too much.
Yeah.
We say a lot.
And as long as it's not coming from an ill-intended place, it's not coming from.
Yeah.
But I think the thing is with you and myself is that we're passionate. We're not really going to talk about something that we're not passionate about. And people take passion as hate. Well, that's what the young this Gen Z and these millennials, if you don't agree with them, you hate. Hating about what? Because I didn't like that. If I say I don't like oranges, that don't mean I hate apples. But that's what we are now, Joe.
Well, we're passionate, and we're going to say what we have to say. But we're also some of the best in the field, right? And that has to be accounted for during whatever I'm doing. So I'm not expecting the artist to understand how I'm dressing something up or how I'm producing in a moment or just how I'm being performative.
Right.
Or how I'm putting sauce on something that I don't expect them to get all of that. How do you feel if I hurt their feelings? I'll apologize. I'm not, that's not beneath me. Like, I'll apologize and get this out of the way. But for the most part, that's cool with everybody.
Nicki goes on stage with Charlie Kirk's widow.
I didn't love it.
Why?
Did you love it?
You know what, Joe? I'll be honest. To keep my sanity and to keep my calm, I really try to stay out of this because I see what's going on, and all it does is make me more and more upset. And when people first started getting behind President Trump, I lost some friends. But I started thinking about it, I was like, it's their opinion. If that's how they feel, I'm ruining friendships and relationships because I let them have. That's their choice.
I understand.
But it took some growth on my part because I see, and I think I'm looking at you, you're like, man, did you hear some of the things that man said about women that's like you, and you sitting up there with this?
That is the role that I believe Turning Point to play in the rewriting of history or revisionist history, being able to visit schools and have all this money just basically being pumped into a certain belief system. I won't take us and speak to what I believe that belief system to be. Okay, but it's a mess. It's within political views. I'm not political at all. I'm not political at all. You want to put on the thing. I'm not. That's not my bag. But the way people go about certain things. When you see what happened to the man Cole Good, in Minneapolis, when you see the way that these quote-unquote ICE agents are behaving, when you hear how the president responds to that incident, when you hear how he responded to the minor murders, there's a tone that I don't think was hidden, and they're hiding these.
I thought it was Papa. I was going to be like, sobrino mío, llegaste. He's at home sipping on some hot cocoa while we're stuck here in the rain.
And a lot of money over there. Yes.
That's
A
my
lot
uncle.
of money over there. So.
And Milo, you know, from Sonic and Milo's Tails, you know what I'm saying? That's my road dog.
Yeah, for sure.
to take that check. Listen, when you go on that side, they rock it. Yeah, they rock it. So tempting for people, I know, but my views and just how I was raised and my family that I come from and some to South Carolina.
Because you know how it works, Joe. All it takes is one. When you heard what Joe said black people are doing the X, Y, and Z. When you heard what Shannon said, that he did say X, Y, and Z. So they'll take the voice of one and then try to make it the voice of millions.
Yeah, well, and that's a plan. And that's a plan. I can't be complicit. No, and sleep at night. So it bothers me when I see people that I know and have some sort of relationship with and have had some conversations with, and you know, I've seen people grow and become multi-million dollar brands from black shit and black people and black consumers. Like, so to watch you take that equity and stand over there, yeah, I can't jive with that.
Nikki got upset at me because I was on Twitter and I was going back and forth with somebody and we were talking about Nikki Haley. And so I said, that woman don't care nothing about X, Y, and Z. So we're going back and forth. We're talking Nikki Haley. They tweet something, I tweet back. Somebody tweeted, you should have Nikki on the show. I said, Nikki who? Nicki Minaj thought I was taking a diss at her. I said, how do you take a diss? We're talking about Nikki Haley. And I know.
I remember that.
I'm not. Joe,
I remember that.
We going back and forth. We're talking about some real heavy stuff. And then somebody said, you should have Nikki on the show. How am I supposed to know they're talking about Nicki Minaj when I just going back and forth two tweets about Nikki Haley?
Yeah.
She got upset.
The bars was on you.
I'm like, bro.
The bars made the week hot.
I'm like, what damn?
Yeah.
I mean, hey, I'm talking about Joe Biden. Man, you should have Joe on. Joe who? Man, oh, you don't know Joe Budden. Man, I'm talking about Joe Biden. We were just talking about Joe Biden.
You gotta be careful. You gotta be careful with these hot.
But people look to find something to get upset about that.
Well, on the internet, we gotta remember, man, that's 2026. The internet is the internet. It's the internet. It's the internet. It's Bob 314. I don't know where this guy. Oh, it's a big thing on X the other day. Some more white radical shit. X, where they were exposing the origin of certain accounts.
Yes.
And in hip hop, some of these accounts that have just been reporting hip hop and being divisive or talking about hip hop beats. They out in India. Page started 3 months ago. It's like, yo, we just got a lot of filler bullshit around, just bots and bums, and it's just cluttered. It's cluttered. Now, it is.
The Aiden Ross, and don't you? You was very outspoken about that. You like, I don't rock with a boy. I mean, you got your right to me, but for you to go as hard at her, and he probably said some other things that I didn't necessarily agree with, but you like, I'm okay. I guess it was some former gang member. I don't know.
Glasses Malone.
Yeah, Glasses Malone.
Good old Glasses Malone.
Like, bro, you know, hey.
He said that's gonna stop. You do it again, we're gonna have to come over here. We'll make sure that don't happen again. Glasses said.
What's his name? What's he trying to accomplish here? Aiden Ross.
Oh, I'm not certain what his angle is. I'm not familiar with some of these streamers in their community and how they go about things. I don't know. I can't say I'm familiar enough with him and
about it.
His ecosystem to speak on it.
I think him and Cassinet had a falling out about something that he had said something, and then he was doing something with Puka. Remember Puka?
I didn't like the Puka and the Kua. I didn't like how that went. I've just seen enough from him for me to say, something going on there that's just not for me. But more importantly than that, how he was speaking about Doechii and the manner in which he felt comfortable doing so. Also, him picking up the phone to call another black man to try to vouch for him doing that to a young black queen. Nah.
Is he the one that was talking about he can say the N word?
Yeah, you do that.
They're giving away so much
I think so.
things.
I've seen
As an entrepreneur, as somebody that creates content himself, somebody battling the whole industry, that's just, that's been my career. I'm a person like Joe Budden. I grew up with Joe. He got it started in the music around the same time that I did. We took a different time. But he met up with me on the independent entrepreneur side much later in life. 16, 17, 18. Everything's different when you think about it. That was 10 years ago. That was like yesterday.
Right, exactly.
That's like one baby for me. You know what I'm saying? So in the beginning of the interview, he speaks about asking for equity. For example, when Uber asked Beyonce to perform, they're willing to pay anything. You know what she said? Give me equity ownership. You know how much those stocks are worth right now? Ridiculous. Same thing with Nas and Coinbase. You want me to perform? Give me equity. Boom. How much are those stocks worth?
It never happened.
Versus just taking, a few $1 million. So he's breaking it down to you that even though it's common consensus that people do podcasts, most people don't know how the money is really made. So he read it like a business, and now $20 million a year. You know what I'm saying? But he didn't see the value in episode 10, episode 20. That's what the new generation thinks. Okay, I want 100 million for 10 episodes. 52 weeks. Yeah, but I'm only going to do 10. What the?
And they're great.
And there's no value because everything digital is cataloged. It's like a library. For example, for me, I'm the biggest artist you don't know about, and that's okay because I've kept it that way. Right now, I'm negotiating the world's biggest music catalog, 10,000 songs. I broke every Guinness World Record the last 5 years in a row, and I'm still negotiating. Right now, I have a 5-concert tour in Switzerland for next week, and I'm telling these people, you need to deposit unless you think I have a spaceship and I can teleport over there. I have a private jet. I don't have a spaceship. When are you going to deposit? You know how much is the gasoline on the jet? You got what I'm saying? You want me to take that shit to Switzerland? It's brand new. So I tell them they don't understand the concept of time because the promoters are from the Dominican Republic, and our family's from the Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico. So they don't understand that. I'm like, yo, if I don't have a response by today, guess what? I could get a birthday in Kissimmee. I could get a wedding in Lake Mary. I could get a quinceañera in Tampa. I'm going. I'm not waiting for y'all. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna wait for you guys because you make these things complicated. So when you have ownership, you could be in those rooms and make that decision. So for Joe Budden, when he was on Spotify for 2 years, he started speaking to the people in the corner office, the guy that cleans, the guy that runs the camera. So eventually they're like, yo, advertising. Go to the advertising floor and see how they're getting paid. So they're running a regular advertising agency. Then they're forwarding those advertisements to the podcast, and then he's getting a percentage. And he's like, wait a minute, I can just get one fucking advertising agency and keep 80% and give y'all 20 on the dollar. Because it's click per million, right? Every time it's a pop-up ad or something like that. So he figured it out. Of course, it was hard. He had to disband the original team. They had to go through it themselves. Then they got successful. And at first they were beat out, but then it all worked out. I don't know if you ever heard of Rory and Mark, but they are hilarious. Rory used to be like an A&R for like Sony, so he has all the industry connections. And Mark is just one of Joe Budden's best friends. So they're dynamic. The rapper that's chilling out, the street friend that'll stay loyal, and the Lankito that was an artist, he was an idiot, but he was better in communications. You dig what I'm saying? Now, $20 million later. Most people don't go through that process. People think, yo, it took me 5 years to add these 10,000 songs to my catalog. I had to break every record and still got into a lawsuit with Christie's and Sotheby's over the auction for my collectibles. Then got into a lawsuit with World's Guinness. Then people asked me for $25 million when I had 5,000 songs. So what they want, $50 million now? What the heck do they think? I'm JP Morgan Chase, I'm a Wells Fargo or something. Because what's your name? John Bank of America. or the Texaco Shell Chevron family. Listen, man, our family has Boris stuff. I'll ball out of Detroit in 1 month. That's it. So I'm negotiating a mini tour before my main tour. While I'm negotiating the contract, and I'm telling these people we cannot waste time. We need all the money that comes in, because all the money that comes in from the tour, I'm just going to hire more professionals. We need more people on the team. And they're like, we don't understand. I'm like, yo, y'all been on the beach too long. I live in California, I don't go to the beach like that. You know, I got to walk to it to get to my house, but I'm not like, I'm going surfing, and then I'm going surfing again. No, I surf in the morning. That's it. Sometimes in the afternoon, but I can't go 3 times a day.
You could have been doing this for ages.
Come on now.
If you don't acknowledge,
so why am I on top of everything? Because after 30 years in the game, I know. I'm talking to the promoter directly. I'm talking to the club owner directly. I'm going to talk to the bottle service girls, the security guard, the guy that parks your car. If the guy that parks your car is rude to you, he's out of here. Not during my concert. Oh, no. They're not going to judge you because you got a BMW and this guy got a Benz. You both are getting violated the same. If your wife is there, they're going to grab her coat. That's just the standards. I'm not going below that. You know what I'm saying? So forget that. Everybody has to be on their game. And again, in every concert, we're not going to make the most, but let's make the most out of what God's given us. Does that make sense? So this tour is only 40,000 euros, so I'm only getting like 8,000 a show.
Right.
But I have to give like 2,000 to my management team, and then I got to spend for logistics. After I pay taxes, I'm gonna keep like 16,000 bucks. After paying everything out of 40,000, I do like a 5 concerts. You know what I'm saying? That's just hard work. I gotta be on stage for 2 hours non-stop, dancing perfectly, singing perfectly, moving. I gotta make the women fall in love with me. You know what I'm saying? All in 2 hours.
And I don't have a problem with that because
now just because it's not 10, I'm not gonna say no.
They're gonna spend
Because
money
it's not 12. I know the promoter selling the show for 10.
They're gonna get it.
So the proprietors are probably going to make 20. He's going to make 2,000. If let's say liquor goes up by instead of 100,000, they sell 140,000. Maybe I'll get another 10, 20,000. I'll get 10, 15% on that. But that's not guaranteed. I can't go expecting, yo, we're going to sell nothing but tequila. No, whiskey. Whiskey is the most expensive shit. You know, overseas. This is Switzerland. You know what I'm saying? This is a different vibe. People don't care about the goddamn fame. They want good music, a good event that they can enjoy themselves. And what I told you, be treated respectfully. Right now, the concert is 80% sold. One artist canceled. The promoter doesn't know what to do. My DJ is the intermediary, right? So I'm telling him, yo, I'll take it. But you gotta let me know. I gave you 2 days already. Corporate America, you don't make a decision in less than 72 hours. So I'm like, yo, it's Thursday, buddy. It's the last day. You don't deposit. I'm sorry, I'm gonna be in Lake Mary. I go to Lake Mary, tell people, you know, I'm from out of town. You know what I'm saying? From the land far away from here. I go to Sanford, tell them, you know, I'm from out of town. I'm from Lake Mary. I ain't from around the park. Yo, for some artists like myself, that's how you gotta do it. I'm 43 years old. How many artists from my generation still on tour, still performing, still making income? You know what I'm saying? Now, Danny, why? Because you know them for the controversy over the music. I'm gonna give you a few examples. Mano and Jim Jones. What do you know them for? Do you know them for music? At least Jim Jones, you know him a little bit more for music. But really the controversy. And that destroys stuff because it's already hard to do a performance as a rapper. You know what I'm saying? As an urban lyricist, right? So I gotta rap and I gotta sing. I can't just do the nigga, all right? I'll do an American concert. Step on my cousin Juju's shoe. He's gonna go to the trunk and lose his freedom. You go overseas, oh, they treat me like Godzilla. I'm the Green Ranger overseas. VIP, they wait for me at the airport, Airbnb, whatever I want to eat, wherever I want to go. You go to the club, everybody's having a good time, nobody's looking at you, nobody's staring at your baby. everybody's respectful because everybody's there to have a good time. You know how people go clubbing overseas, flats, shoes, you know, the women in beautiful dresses, you know what I'm saying? Got that shit over here. Yo, I'm like, Juju, you don't see how dark it is in here? You don't see all the women, you don't hear the music and the drinks and the food. You worried about some random person because in your mind, you think in your head that that person doesn't know you from a hole in the wall. But my cousin Juju, insecure.
Awesome, man.
Got something to prove.
That has
I'm not
changed.
going to jail because of my cousin Juju.
Awesome,
I'm
man.
not spending my
I mean, I
fucking
say
money
that,
since
but
the book is explaining to my wife.
we talked to
Again. You went to jail again? Yeah, sure did. How many times did that? Before she's like, yo, the goldfish intro. Come on.
Let me come to you for advice.
You're like, yo, you gonna take the puppy and the goldfish? You can't give me the goldfish? Like,
That's
yo,
one of the things.
and the goldfish and the kids.
It's normally a shock for me.
You know what I'm saying?
If I hear something.
There's so many things, you know. Again, you think I could go do all these performances worldwide if I was just rapping? No, I got salsa, bachata, merengue, reggaeton.
You said something very interesting earlier. You said, at this age now that you go to
underground.
and
I got techno records, I got country records.
How important is that?
You think I got it like that to say, nah, I ain't
One thing you realize that you have to focus on that. Because when we're young,
R&B song paid bills.
Thing that we think about now, as we
Or I
start
could just
to,
talk about some gangster shit all day.
I'm
After
at the
how
age
many
where I
songs?
used to
After
think,
5-6 songs, you're like, all
I'm
right,
at that age.
you got to give me a variety.
You're a teenager,
You know what I'm saying? Every album can't be. I'll kill you on Monday, kill you on Tuesday, kill you on Wednesday. Thursday, I'm gonna bring you back to life. Then I'm gonna kill you on Friday. Like, yo, you know what I'm saying? Or the discography, 12 albums, 11 and a half gangsters, straight up killers. Yo, you can't. It's not a sustainable business model. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna grab some Joe so I can stop. This is a light to medium trend, but if you want to take some more off, we can. Give me 1 second.
Mentally, spiritually, physically, but I was always I had to be aware of my mental health because I could not live anymore if I didn't really focus on that. So after a lot of years, it got in a good place, and you learn how important it is. It's the processor, it's the motherboard, it's what makes it. You can't go. There is not. You can't show up for yourself properly. You can't.
I found myself changing the course and the direction of my career, advising so many other artists. Like, yo, you need something for the radio. Yo, Biggie had One More Chance. Biggie had Hypnotized. Biggie just didn't give you warning and, you know what I'm saying, juicy. He gave you a little bit of everything.
I mean, you can say the same about Lil Uzi Vert. Like,
Yep. No, but even they got some records that you can pull it off. You know who I really like? Post Malone. Post Malone can go perform anywhere. You know why? Because he's going to give you those heartfelt records. He's not going to give you the hardcore gangster stuff. That's in the album. Go get the album for that. You know what I'm saying? It can't be like every performance. Seriously? Nah, man.
It's just like, no.
I go see Big. I want to hear.
I'm trying to get
in your Those are the records right there.
And the large part of that is mental health. I'm not gonna be somewhere just miserable and bumpy.
No, and every time I spray it, it just dries up.
Joy of a person. No. Good energy, good vibrations, high frequency. It's important to me how people wake up, even or how people start their role in my day in the morning. Don't in the morning. True now.
I need more jokes on the
top. That's your busiest time. That's when you feel you're set a tone for my day. How the morning goes is how I'm gonna go in all these different places and people that I have to be at and see. Right. Whatever you went to the phone and saw last night, not in the morning. When I get home. But yeah. Whoever's calling to just argue or just dump on you or just do heavy shit on you, not in the morning. You can't do that in the morning. And I'm a morning guy. I'm up at 4 in the morning. Wow. Nah. Let me pace the day. Mental health.
So it's so many things. And let me tell you, really, as I was battling the American industry, right? And I'm like, yo, I'm gonna go to my home team. You know, the market is struggling, right? Man,
the biggest difference, Joe?
Everything I was advising artists to do overseas, I'm like, I'm gonna do it myself.
And the rappers
I would tell artists, yo, you gotta make them a child. You need something for the ladies, you know what I'm saying? Boom, let me go make them a child. Yo, you need like a salsa so you can close out. Because if you close the Little John and the East Side Boys, it ain't gonna be good in the parking lot. When everybody's twisted, right? But if you close out with salsa, people are like, yo, nice.
Like I said,
I'm saying, I'm shorty, I ain't got time for the drama. You know what I'm saying? All those things I had to learn strategically.
Get on without being the best.
So
Right.
I give you a guaracha, which is a Colombian, it's like their dembow, their version of dembow. A lot more money. Then I do a trap from Hold Out, one of my greatest hits. After that, I do a mambo. No, I do a salsa song, then I do a mambo. Then I come through a perico ripiao, two típicos, and a mambo again. Then I give you 5 reggaeton songs, all baby making music, love making music. Then I give you 5 dembos and I'm out of here. And what do I close with? A nice motherfucking salsa. I'm in my business suit, you know what I'm saying? Everything is on the up and up. Because that's how it's supposed to be. People are paid for that experience, you know what I'm saying? No, I'm not trying to get with nobody's girl. The songs are romantic, so you know, I may make some eye contact and stuff like that. But I'm an artist. You're expected to see that. Other than that, that's it. I'm not gonna be drinking lean, not 50 people on stage, not one bad word, because so much you know what I'm saying? And that's it.
And then
You know, vibe to it is better than listening to a DJ playing AirPods, right?
Yeah.
It's live music, live instrumentation. I got dances and everything. Now, am I drink? No, I'm not. Am I Bad Bunny? No, I'm not. But I'm the closest version that you can find affordably, right? You feel me? So it ain't gonna be $1,000 to come see me.
I mean, that's
what I mean. Maybe a few $100, which is fine. I'm gonna take that. I'll take that donation. We'll figure something out. All I gotta do is go to Best Buy. Trust me, I got way more stuff than I can afford.
Look, I'm at a distance.
Hey, they got a digital fish tank. You download the water. I said, what? You download the water? They're like, yeah, it's some future shit, sir. You got baby dinosaurs in the cup. You want to buy a baby dinosaur? You cannot be serious, dude.
I can't say that.
I've seen some people that have remote control airplanes the size of a
today. You're right. Well, I don't even know if you say that, but today it's like today it's a different stripe system that comes from.
Now, remember also, I'm a rapper. I'm not saying my singing skills are singer singing skills, but as an artist, I could do the Don Omar / Drake / Bad Bunny. I got you.
Hey,
I'm just the Timo version. You know, I'm the Chinese copy.
It's a system that's in there in case.
You feel me? And yo, that's how it be. But if you let that shit get to your head, you're trying to keep up with the Jones, you'll never be happy in your career. Because sometimes the stars align for somebody that may be different for you. You want to make it as a major league world baseball player. But guess what? God gives you a Red Lobster and a Olive Garden, and you make $20 million. Can you really be mad at God? Yo, God, I ain't playing for the Yankees, though. And God's like, yo, I gave you a Red Lobster. I gave you a Chick-fil-A, a Panera Bread, and a goddamn Olive Garden. What more do you want?
Try your best.
Jesus didn't have you more. Jesus asked for good credit. You know what I'm saying? So I'm be like Jesus. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna ask for good credit. All right, so you all set to go? Let me let y'all have a look. Welcome back to yourself, sir. Oh, hold up. Welcome back to yourself, sir. When you came to the shop, you look like one of your cousins.
I don't want to come home. I said, what was it?
Take a look right there.
Am I wrong? Am I wrong in my assessment?
So the jaw has to be a little bit stronger, but take a look. Welcome back to yourself, sir.
With Jonathan, he was Jonathan that day.
I'm not trying.
He was Jonathan.
I'm not trying to be funny.
A little bit more. I was gonna tell you the back is it's a little bit longer than the front inside. I got you.
Jonathan that day.
I'm gonna start with like 1.5 inches, okay? On the top. Then I'll let you have a look. You wanna trim some more, we can, okay?
Respectfully, right? Respectfully. You heard.
So that's the thing. So now it's like backwards, right? When I talk to the promoters, they're like,
and that
oh
goes
my
quite
God,
well.
but you got a Santi? Yo, you got a bigger phone, you got a
But
damn
it's gonna be hard
yeah.
to say up the
I
street
came
when you
prepared.
gotta build your reputation.
You know what I'm
on
saying?
being in.
There's not like, let's say, okay, you only play salsa music, no problem. I got salsa albums. You know what I'm saying?
I think there was a lot of.
Oh, we only play them both. I got them both. Oh, we only do
So I just saw a lot of
reggaeton.
people
It doesn't
doing
matter. I have at least
explanations.
one or two
Like,
records.
yeah, that's what people say now.
Styles like champeta, of course, Colombia does reggaeton and stuff like that. But
I
styles like
enjoy
guaracha and
seeing-
champeta are their underground sound. So
I enjoy
people
seeing
from high society trying to look down upon it. But bachata used to be like that too. And guess what? If the youth originates and relates to it, I had to make a song in guaracha and in champeta. It's a different style. You know what it is? It's like reggae and hip hop mixed. Oye, the production sounds amazing. And let me tell you, in Colombia, that style, yo, they don't get tired, bro. I thought you was the man if you didn't get tired.
And I said we can't talk about the other shit,
Nah,
right?
yo. They dance that shit. They have another version called Aleteo, which the beat slows down almost to a stop in the middle of the song. And then it speeds up, dog, faster than techno. And the bass,
There's
yeah,
not
you can feel that
something on
shit.
there that just be like.
You know, when I perform, I got at least drink a beer. I burn it down. I put the magic drop.
I was about to ask you, Joe. I think you should.
It's overwhelming. That bass, I'm used to hearing it one or two songs during my performance. I do about 25 songs in Spanish, 27 in English. It's just a full concert. But if not, only about 25. And yo,
I'm like, I mean, I'm like, damn, you really? And I
I'm
think
like,
like
that shit is the
because we
cheese.
have more access to more.
But again, you can tell them
hear
lyrics and
all
all
this
that
stuff
stuff.
now. Now it's
They take it into effect.
I mean,
But I'm a
every
rapper.
once in a
I
while,
want me to do this stuff.
well, you
Name
get
just
something
did a
like
song
this, but not
in
every
the style
day.
of
And maybe it was
like
happening
samba
every day, but
that is called soca, something like that. It's something from like Trinidad, around one of those islands. They do
New
the
York
song.
is not, even though we're here,
Joe Budden
it's not that
interviewed
far
him and he
away.
was
So
like,
no
yeah,
matter
you know,
where you
I
are,
stepped out of my
it's
comfort
really
zone.
close.
I'm like, yo, I
Whereas
did that shit
before,
10
it
years
was
ago.
so far away. You
Real.
only dreamed of going to California. You only dreamed of going to these places.
Real.
Now they bring it right
Now,
to
all those old records,
Yeah,
guess what? Those are the ones I could play. Anyway.
So I was like, I used to
My
do that
music is
too. I
not on
used to read the
Spotify, it's
movies.
not
I
on
was like, man,
YouTube, none of
I
that.
can't. I'm just
Get to
saying,
my music, you gotta go to the
all that
blockchain.
shit going on.
Why? Because the industry
I
can't mess with me.
respect for
I broke all the records on the blockchain, established the records on the blockchain. And you know, you can't fake it. You can fake streams and you can buy bots and have 1,000,001 views in a video on YouTube and make no money because YouTube won't pay you for that. They know when you know what I'm saying? Or most of the time they have an idea. But there's so much to it, man. There's so much to it. So, again, a hard head makes a soft bottom. I was hard headed. I thought I knew everything. But people over here trying to impress these labels, they making money overseas. So why don't we just go overseas and go perform? You know what I'm saying? What is the point? But people here, they want the fame. They want the overnight success.
Yes.
You know, I sell Ferraris and I drive a Corvette. Doesn't mean I can't drive Ferraris, but I'm not going to advise that to you as an investor because I might put you in debt that you don't invest, you know? Get into debt for a gas station. You know what I'm saying? Borrow money like millions. Don't fucking borrow 100,000 from the bank. Think you're rich. I took an engineering class. This family put up $3 billion to buy acres.
Would you like to get married? That's a trick question.
15. So how much did they really generate? $18 million free money. We paid the minimum on that. You know how many gas stations I own? The land gas station, Orlando gas station, Tampa gas station. For real, yo.
You say, look, you happy, but you know, I've been told.
Take a look right here. I think this is good, but we always can take a little bit more. Remember that the roots still think that the hair is long, so they are going to fight. A lot of gel and a lot of pomade, comb it to the back, and then just curve it up. It'll take food on its own. But don't, you can't trim too much because then when you style it, it's going to look like a wet bird. It's going to look like somebody went like that to the thing. But that gel that we have is not strong enough. Your hair is it's its own thing. No, but it looks tight. I ain't gonna front this tight. You could wear shorts or the business suit, it's still gonna look sharp. And again, if after like 2 or 3 days you want to trim some more, Come through in the morning. I'm always here around 11, 12. I'll hook it up for you. Don't worry. That way you can go home, shower, wash your seed. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to worry. I don't know how far you live from me, but we're here Saturday. Are y'all set to go? Whatever you normally pay is fine. All I'm gonna do is hide it from my girlfriend, okay? If she sees it, it will be gone. Hey, you can pay me right here. Cash.
Cash, you do Apple Pay.
Hey, I don't have Apple Pay. The only digital I can accept is Cash App. But if you have to run to your bank, you can run to your bank and come back. Don't worry.
I can run back home and then come back. I'm like 15 minutes away.
Take your time. I'm retired. No worries. I'll see you. Take your time. No worries. Hey, I'm Jewish. Whatever you give me is good. I'm positive. Yes. Yes. If you want to take an idea, in the front, in the waiting area, there's a price board on the left-hand side on the top. That way you have an idea. Right there in the front of the waiting area.
Be silent and who you are, and you be cool. Let's go back to what you're great at, and that is this podcast space. How do you go about hiring talent? How do you like Joe, like, okay, I want to hire this, whether they're going to be a co-host, or they're going to be X, or they're going to be videographers, or they're going to be a graphics designers, or they're going to be X, or they're going to be Y. How do Joe Budden decide that?
Large part of this chemistry. I'm looking for chemistry no matter what the title is, because it's such a, like I said, boutique operation. So it's going to be me calling. It's going to be somebody next to me that's going to, we're going to speak, we're going to see each other.
And we'll be back, yo.
How can people work together? That and what that